Howdy, howdy. Hello, everybody. Is this a new section? Yeah, we might be replacing the creationist one with this one, at least for the time being, because the creationist topic doesn't seem to be getting a lot of bites these days. All right, so we did just start. We'll give it a few more minutes to let people trickle in. Take some time. You just moved out of my time zone? Sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that indeed. I've made your dream Bleeze road. What is Bleeze? Am I old? Should I get with the time? Okay, definitely. Oh, blunt. Okay. By the way, it should be vertical and horizontal, depending on where you're watching. Can rocket work in space if there's nothing to push off of? Well, it pushes off of the exhaust. Well, let's bring up our first guest. Shall we? Ballin, how's it going?
Hey, good morning, Dr. Blitz. How are you?
I'm doing A-okay. Look, this is a new prompt, so I do have a few questions to ask you before we get started. First, do you think that MAGA is not anti-science?
I listen to you and Ian, and I love you guys, and I agree. That was my only question. I've not seen this prompt, so I was just curious if, like,
I've
I
done it.
guess I'm not understanding.
I've done it before, but you know, you'll find out. Just sit back and enjoy, I guess.
Okay, cool.
All right, take care. Yeah, no, it shouldn't take long. Just give it a few minutes. People will trickle in, and we'll get some interesting people. What am I singing? There's a song that Beast in Black recently came out with called Power of the Beast, which is just, it's so good. It's so good. I would recommend it to anyone. Anyone who's you know into power metal. Like that song slaps. Absolutely, it does. Favorite math course? It's got to be differential geometry. I don't know why you keep popping up on my feed. I don't mind, but it feels like YouTube trying to trip me up. YouTube's trying to tell you something. Was that you arguing on someone else's channel last night? I wasn't on anybody's channel last night, at least in American time zones. All right, we have another guest. Black Hole 99, how's it going? He got me. I've been had. Does he have a different name every time? Like, am I crazy? I never did listen to Lorna Shore or to Lorna Shore. Nobody is joining because the conjecture is true. Well, it could be. Could be that the conjecture is true. Maybe it's not a conjecture. Maybe it's proof. Maybe we've proven it. All right, Veteran Fit, how's it going?
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Veteran Fit, I do have a few questions before we get started. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
So first question, and this is just, I'm basically just recording poll data because I'm interested in what people say. So first, would you consider yourself MAGA?
Sure.
Okay. Now, and for the following three questions, all I need is a yes or no answer. We can absolutely talk about them later. Just for the poll, just yes or no is great. So do you think that humans are the main cause of climate change?
I don't know, probably not.
Okay. Do you think that the vaccines that we administer to infants, things like measles, mumps, rubella, not COVID, do you think that the vaccines we administer to infants are generally safe and effective?
I mean, based off what I know, I mean, sure.
Okay. And do you think that humans evolved from non-human ancestors?
Humans evolved from non-human ancestors? No, I wouldn't say that.
Okay, great. Right. So the prompt is MAGA is anti-science. My contention is merely that, not making a value judgment here, although, you know, I have particular opinions on it. My point is that it seems like the MAGA political sphere, either from the politicians or the voting bloc, just are not interested in funding science and are actively working to deconstruct the scientific institutions that we have in this country, lowering our status on the world stage. What do you think about that?
Sure, lowering. No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I don't, and I definitely don't think our status is being lowered. If anything, we've gained a lot of traction in that regard.
I should be clear. I mean, like, our scientific status, because, you know, starting in the 40s and 50s, up until basically the 2010s, the United States was widely regarded as the mecca of science. This is where the greatest scientists worked. This is where the greatest scientists lived. This is where the greatest science research happened. This is where we trained the future scientists. It was the scientific mecca. Now that's changing. And I think that's because of MAGA.
Yeah, no, I mean, I doubt it. I mean, we have people like you here. We got a lot of smart people here. I mean, if you could pull up something, you know, empirical, that would, I really don't know what you're like. Okay, so, I don't see how that would make us anti-science, really.
Well, I mean, look, we can look at policy decisions that are proposed by either MAGA politicians or Trump himself or Trump's administration, or we can look at the voting bloc. I mean, if you look at just policy decisions, it's fairly easy to see that you have people, for instance, like Trump, pushing climate misinformation. We have evidence that, you know, Trump supporters, these would be like MAGA politicians, are working to try to undermine teaching of evolution, for example, which is scientific consensus. We have examples of MAGA politicians and right-wing MAGA influencers pushing distrust in the medical sciences. Could you give me an example of a way that the Trump administration or MAGA in general is pro-science?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you have RFK administration, you know, getting rid of like red dye. I think they're pushing a health agenda that's more holistic. Not less injections, more natural formulas. I think that's probably a good thing. I think a lot of the trust for scientists has been eroded. That's for sure. Based off of what happened in 2020 with C-19 and everything.
What does that have to do with, say, trust in biologists or climate scientists or, psychiatrists? What does C-19 have to do with those things? Or even the trust in vaccines that are unrelated to C-19?
What does it have to do with just trust the science in 2020, like forcing people to get vaccinated, basically.
So why was that a bad thing? And by the way, wasn't Trump in control in 2020? Wasn't he president?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
But he let the bureaucracy do a lot of the work, though. He definitely put his trust in people he currently today no longer would trust. That's probably why he doesn't have Dr. Fauci anymore, or Dr. Birx, or people like that, right?
I mean, sure. So why was it a bad thing to have vaccine mandates for government jobs and for public schools and things like this?
When you force people to take injections, on a vaccine that wasn't that came out rapidly, it leaves a bad taste in their mouth.
Right,
I think that's,
but like you said that this resulted in distrust. So what was the cause of the distrust?
What was the cause of the distrust?
Yeah, I mean, like typically distrust happens when somebody says something and they promise you that XYZ thing will happen, or they promise you that ABC thing won't happen, and then it doesn't come true. And so your trust in that person is reduced because you shouldn't have trusted because they were incorrect. What were they incorrect about?
I mean, they walked back a lot of different claims about masks.
What were
about
they incorrect about?
Efficacy. Who? What were they correct or incorrect about?
Incorrect. What were they incorrect about?
Well, they walked back a lot of different claims, like the masks.
What about
the
the
efficacy
masks?
of the vaccine?
What about the masks?
That that you needed to wear one, that you didn't need to wear one.
Sorry, what did they walk back?
That you needed to wear one, and then you said you didn't need to wear one, and then they said, wear 2, wear 3, wear 4.
I'm not familiar with these claims that you're making. So I know that in March of 2020, the CDC, I think it was the CDC, put out a statement that don't worry about wearing surgical masks or medical masks. Save those for the medical workers. And then in April, they said, oh yeah, everybody should be wearing a mask. So is that what you're referring to?
I mean, that's probably a part of it.
Because, I mean, you understand why that was done, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was just a form of, like, virtue signaling.
No, there was a mask shortage in March of 2020.
No, I'm saying forcing people to wear a mask, and like if you go to a store and you're the only one not wearing a mask, it's like this, oh my God, he's going to get me sick type.
Well, you do understand that masks are effective, right? Even just like a cloth over your mouth is better than nothing. Masks
are effective at what?
At protecting you and protecting others.
Okay.
Is this news to you? Because I can show you the scientific data that backs it up.
Yeah, show me the scientific data backing it up that it would prevent you from getting C-19.
Well, to be clear, we're not talking 100% effective, but we are talking effective. So this is a meta-analysis. This is a meta-analysis that was performed in 2024. So they basically took a whole bunch of published reviews and studies and so on, and analyzed their effectiveness, the effectiveness of various types of masks. And they basically categorized them in terms of protection factor. So we can go look up the specific definition of protection factor, but the way to read this is just higher protection factor means that you're safer, right? That it protects you from giving out dangerous particles and from taking in dangerous particles. So if we look at this chart, what we see, this is all of the studies that they analyzed in one chart. What we see is that clearly filtering face pieces, these are things that have like actual filters on them, these are remarkably protective. With an average of, you know, averaging across all of the studies, an average of like 10 to 20 to 30x protection factor. Medical masks, on the other hand, these are just like the regular ones that you see like what doctors wear. These are going to have a protection factor of between, say, 3 to 5, but it still means that your rate or that your risk rate decreases by a factor of 3 to 5. And then community masks have a protection factor of, say, 2 to 3. So while community masks, these are just cloths over your face, while these aren't 100% effective, they do increase your protection rate. And that's just borne out in the data.
Kelly, Kofi, what are these, like viruses or what?
Oh no, those are the names of the studies that they're getting this data from.
Oh, okay. What are they protecting you from, though?
Particulate matter, in particular COVID. We can go look at the specific data if you want, but I'm surprised you haven't seen this chart.
No, I've never seen that chart. What's the micron level of C19?
You're
Like
asking how big a C19 viron or a viral particle is?
Yeah, it'll go right through any of those masks except the ones probably with the filter.
You understand that that's not a particularly relevant fact because C19 isn't airborne. It spreads on water droplets.
It spreads on water droplets? So
Yeah.
wait, so it's not airborne?
C19 isn't airborne. No, it spreads on water droplets.
Okay, then if it's not air, then I would imagine wearing a mask would be for something particularly airborne related.
So when you breathe, when you cough, just by existing, water droplets come out of your mouth, right? It's kind of gross, but that's the reality of it. And the way that C19 spread was by being carried in those water droplets.
Okay, so you're saying that people were getting sick via other people's mouths?
Well, and noses, right? Like stuff also comes out of your nose.
And hands. I mean, I would say it's more.
I mean, if you have stuff on your hands, then sure. But like your
Right,
hands are
absolutely.
like if your hands are sterile, they're not going to like all of a sudden just ooze C19 particles because like they're coming out of your skin. Like they're coming out of the places that are connected to your lungs, basically.
Okay, now connect from your mouth to actually getting the virus then.
If
Because
you
you're saying
breathe in, if you
go to a
breathe in
store,
viral
you touch-
particles, then
No, I'd say-
your chances of getting the virus go from 0 to not 0.
If you go to a store, you're wearing a mask, you touch something else someone else has touched, you're
Mhm.
gonna get sick. Touch the
Well,
door
yeah,
handle.
so hand washing is also important, but that's only so like if your hands aren't covered with viral particles, which would have gotten there via water or via water droplets, then you can touch things.
Right, you could touch your mask and then touch the door.
I mean, you probably shouldn't because masks again aren't 100% effective, but it's better
but
than touching your mouth and then touching the door.
Show me the study where it actually decreased the causality of getting
That's what the
sick.
protection factor accounts for. Now, the protection factor is a broad notion because different studies use different mechanisms to try to measure how effective masks are. But like, that's what the protection factor accounts for in this study.
Right, but you're not actually connecting the dots here. It's not actually saying that that is the direct correlation or the causation of you not getting sick. Or you getting sick.
So either the viral particles get into your mouth or they don't, right? They get into your body rather, or they don't. And the way that they get into your body is through your mouth and nose, right?
I suppose, yeah.
So if the mask offers a degree of protection against that, then you're good. And then it's pretty clear that this will at least help you in some regard.
Do you have any studies to show that it actually did?
I just showed you one.
No, that's just a study saying that it prevents, like, but show me the numbers on, wearing a mask, this decreased getting C19.
What do you think the protection factor measures?
in the depths of the pandemic, people were still getting sick
What do you think
rapidly
the protection
wearing masks.
factor measures?
What the mask will and won't let inside of it into your mouth. But this is not direct proof that it's actually preventing you from getting C19.
Okay, so
though.
do you want to read a particular quote of this paper or of this meta study? Because here it is. Second, masks are, if correctly and consistently worn, effective in reducing transmission of respiratory diseases and show a dose response effect. Third, respirators are significantly more effective than medical or cloth masks, which we know. Fourth, mask mandates are overall effective in reducing community transmission of respiratory pathogens. Fifth, masks are important social cultural symbols. That's true. Non-adherence to masking is sometimes linked to political and ideological beliefs and to widely circulated mis- or disinformation. Sixth, while there is much evidence that masks are not generally harmful to the general population, masking may be relatively contraindicated in individuals with certain medical conditions who may require exemption. That's the summary of their results.
Okay.
So like this is.
I don't really.
Like
yeah,
it,
I mean,
look, we're 5 years in. This is pretty this is the scientific consensus at this point.
Okay. Yeah, I mean the
6 years in, 6 years in even.
Yeah, there's a lot of hindsight 2020 on this one, where we would never go down the same path if the same exact thing happened again. I guarantee it.
Well, so what we know now, actually I actually don't have data to support this. But what seems like is true now is that we were probably too cautious with regards to closing schools for kids, because that had significant knock-on effects that we didn't really predict. And so if it happened again, we probably wouldn't close schools for as long as we did, or we would probably operate differently with regards to schools for kids, because that had a pretty significant negative impact. But considering that, we had never encountered this disease before, we didn't know what would happen with it, right? So people were overly cautious, and there was a negative impact with regard to child schooling.
We never encountered a viral disease?
So the last time something like this happened was 100 years ago.
No.
Yeah, I mean, this was the worst epidemic, or the worst. I mean, it was pandemic. The worst pandemic since the Spanish flu of 1918.
I mean, you could go down that route. I mean, there's going to be. You're talking about the death count and everything like that.
The infection rate, the mortality rate, yeah, is really bad.
What? Well, the flu has the same exact. It could be. A lot of people would argue that it was the flu, like equivalent to that, and the numbers were.
People could argue that, except people don't.
I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying
okay,
that.
Well, so then why would you say that?
Well, I'm just speaking on,
what other people would say. Why would other people say it? Why would you say what other people say if you don't agree with what other people say?
I mean, agnostic on it.
Well, look, I mean, if you go talk to epidemiologists, virologists, these are the people who study transmissible disease and viruses, right? If you go talk to these people, there is overwhelming consensus amongst them that yes, COVID was dangerous. It was bad. Their masks were effective generally, and quarantining was a good policy. This is not controversial in the slightest. And so it's kind of strange that there's this whole segment of the population who just is nah, but I don't trust them. I don't believe them because my political ideology says otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it was highly politicized. I mean,
who made it that way?
Politicized on both sides of the aisle, for sure.
Really?
Who made it that? Well, I mean, the Democrats are their own worst enemy, right? They effectively.
So who wanted to just listen to what the scientists were suggesting?
Democrats effectively put Trump in the position he's in now.
Which political party was more likely to just listen to what the scientists were suggesting?
Listen to what the scientists were suggesting?
Yeah, take advice from the scientists with regards to what to do regarding a pandemic.
I mean, everybody was on the same page the first 6 months of the pandemic.
Were they? I mean, people were crying about lockdowns in May.
Yeah, of course. Well, the people that want to go to work and they're not
I
happy
thought
that there's
everybody was on the same
got shut
page.
down. Yeah, the first few months, yeah.
The first few
Until
months, it's like this
until
whole
they
thing
started to
started in
figure
like
out.
March, maybe February.
Hmm. Excuse me.
So look, here's my issue. If you take a poll amongst American citizens, and then you ask them to divide themselves up by, do they consider themselves Republican, Democrat, Independent, and then if you ask the Republicans to subdivide themselves, or sorry, I was thinking of a different poll. If you just ask people to divide themselves into those categories, isn't it a little weird that Republicans trust RFK Jr., Dr. Oz, and Donald Trump himself as much as they trust their doctors with regards to medical advice? Isn't that weird?
You're talking about like Tylenol?
Just in general.
I mean, I
With
don't know.
regards to health issues, it is very weird that Republicans trust the president more or as much as they trust their own doctor.
Well, I mean, these people are privy to the highest echelons of information and empirical data. Would you disagree?
You think that Trump is particularly aware of like the best treatments for various conditions? You think that RFK, who literally had a brainworm, by the way, is particularly knowledgeable about, is more knowledgeable than somebody who went to medical school about how to treat various conditions? Do you think Dr. Oz, who I think had his medical license revoked, is more knowledgeable than a person's own doctor about what that person's own what that person needs?
I don't
weird.
think they try to claim. I mean, as far as the specifics goes and the various categories of what healthcare entails, I don't think they claim to be the experts, but I do believe they have that they surround themselves with the highest echelon of in the scientific community. Why wouldn't they? They have all that at their disposal.
Do you think
their
that
disposal,
do you think
they
that
have
it was
more
the highest?
information.
Do you think that it was the highest? So, by the way, here's the reference for the data that I'm talking about. Similar shares of Republicans say that they trust President Trump, 84%, Dr. Oz, 83%, and RFK Jr., 81%, as say they trust their own doctors, 84%, to make the right recommendations on health issues.
Okay.
Like, if Donald Trump makes a suggestion about health issues, they're as likely to believe Donald Trump as they were if their own doctor said it.
What
That's really weird.
What health issues has he made a determination on that you disagree with?
He said that you should probably not take Tylenol when you're pregnant, which, by the way, the entire medical community disagrees with.
So you think that pregnant women should take Tylenol?
Yeah, especially if you have a fever. Absolutely.
What were the side effects of that?
The side effects of what? Fever?
Tylenol.
There's no causative side effects that have been determined with regard to Tylenol. So Tylenol said there's no downside to avoiding Tylenol or acetaminophen use while pregnant, and that's false because you can't take Advil while pregnant, and Tylenol is a fever reducer, and fevers do have a causative effect on cognitive issues and other developmental issues if you are pregnant or if you have a fever while pregnant, right? That's a problem. Advising people to not take Tylenol, that there's no downside, that's really bad. That is horrible medical advice.
I'm pretty sure he's.
This is a quote, by the way.
Well, I mean, you do agree that there's negative side effects with the children by taking Tylenol.
No, there's no. I mean, like, there's side effects if you and I take Tylenol. Like, we can have, what is it? It's like gastrointestinal issues. But there's been no determined like cause and effect relationship between taking Tylenol and having developmental issues of a born baby. Like there's no evidence of that.
Just type in side effects of Tylenol when you're pregnant for the baby. There's definitely a link there for sure.
Is there a correlation, or is there a causative relationship? Because there are correlations between a lot of things. For example, it is known that there is a correlation between developmental delays or hyperactivity and Tylenol usage while pregnant. But correlation is not causation. Consider why somebody might be taking Tylenol. Could it be because they have a fever? And we know that fevers have causative relationships between developmental delays and other developmental differences. So to just suggest that there's a correlation is not to say that there's a causative relationship there.
Okay, I believe that there's other ways to treat a fever, and but also, I mean, yeah, no, I agree. But why do you think they came out and said that? Like, what are they just trying to
because
make it hard?
I imagine RFK told him to say it, and nobody checked with, scientists.
No, that wasn't my question. What was their basis of doing so?
I don't think there was a basis.
You don't think there was a basis? Okay, just type into Google why they
not
came
that I'm
out.
aware of.
All right.
Do you know what the basis was?
Yes, because it has side effects for the kids. It's exactly what they said.
Okay, so to be clear, is there a scientific basis for a causative relationship between Tylenol taking and developmental delays?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, let's look. Let's go find. Is there?
I would. I'm just on my phone. I don't want to peek up. And you type really fast. Types at 1,000 miles a minute. There. You had Mavis Beacon when you were a kid, huh?
Sorry?
You had Mavis Beacon when you were a kid.
I don't know what that is. Mavis
Beacon? It was the typing. It taught you how to type.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So this might be helpful. Let me show you what I found. Can you see this? Let me make it a little bit bigger. Study reveals no causal link between neurodevelopmental disorders and acetaminophen exposure before birth.
All right, that's one source. Conveniently, is that the NIH?
I mean, yeah, like the NIH funds a lot of research, but we could go look at the study if you want.
No. I mean, I think that's.
In fact, you know what's interesting? Trump's own FDA disagreed with his claim. Right? At like literally day of when Trump made this statement, the FDA came out and said, no, it's fine. By the way, so has the American Association of Pediatricians, who these are people who like specialize in taking care of kids.
You have AI?
I'm not using it. Why?
No, I know. ChatGPT or something.
What about it?
Just type into that. Does acetaminophen have negative side effects for unborn children? It'll link different sources. I mean, because at this point, I mean, you're gonna find sources that say it does. You're gonna find sources that say it does. So
look, here's my question. If we go look at the American Association of Pediatrics, for example, right, and I can go pull up a link that, their press release about this or whatever. If the American Association of Pediatricians say, oh yeah, this is nonsense, it's better to take Tylenol if you have a fever while pregnant than to not take Tylenol, why would we trust your ability to distinguish between good and bad research, to evaluate the quality of methodologies, when we have, the American Association of Experts on this particular topic saying it's fine? Why would we? Well, I mean, why wouldn't we listen to the scientific experts on this particular topic rather than just trying to evaluate the research studies ourselves? It just seems a little bit strange.
Which scientific experts were they using, or do you think they just pulled this out of a hat one day?
What I found,
obviously using some.
So what I found is that they were relying on 2 studies that found an association. That's it. They relied on 2 studies.
And the reason I say ChatGPT, because the chat's going crazy there, is because it cross-references multiple sources, and it typically remains. I mean, and as long as you put the prompt in correctly, it'll remain fairly unbiased.
So look, here my point is that and by the way, the FDA like in their press release, they cite the particular studies that Trump must have been relying on. I mean, Trump didn't say what he relied on, but there's 2 studies that he was relying on, one from 2020 and one from 2019, that found correlations. Now, again, correlations are not causations, as I'm sure you're aware, but the consequence of relying on 2 studies rather than relying on the entire body of scientific research is that you can sometimes say dumb things, like what he did. And so if we just go check if we just go to the American Academy of Pediatrics and we just look, then like we can just see that, yeah, this is suggested as the way to treat fevers, right?
Well, if a majority of scientists came out and said something, let's say they said, snorting something is good for you, right? Just because a majority of them said it, does that mean you're going to believe them?
So if you have a whole bunch of scientists who are experts on, I don't know, whatever that thing is, and the scientific consensus was that, yeah, snorting this is good for your health, yeah, why wouldn't I believe them?
Okay, they said, yeah, no, what I'm saying is, let's say it comes out to be known like blatantly wrong and unhealthy, like it's detrimental to your health, right? And they were all wrong.
Yes. So we should instead not trust scientists because they're wrong sometimes.
No, I'm just saying. I mean, you're just pleading to a majority of what they're going to say, and I mean,
I'm appealing to expert consensus. This isn't some random majority.
Well, no, because you said, well, they relied on like 2 studies, and I'm relying on what.
Right. Well, so look, so consensus is never formed from 1 or 2 studies. Consensus is formed from a large body of work conducted by many people across years, right?
Yeah, I mean,
that's how consensus forms.
Tylenol is they have a lot of money flowing through that entity, like a lot of.
Through what entity? Tylenol is almost always bought in the generic. It's not owned by any one person.
I mean, acetaminophen?
Acetaminophen is a generic.
Oh. Right, but there's, right, but there's still like copyrights on. I mean,
no, there's literally not. Acetaminophen, like the actual compound is just like we can just go pull it up if you want.
No, type in,
like it's just this molecule. You can't copyright that molecule. I'm
curious. Can you type in who owns Tylenol?
By the way, this is from the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. ACOG reaffirms that acetaminophen remains the analgesic and antipyretic of choice during pregnancy.
Mm-hmm. I don't doubt. Why? I don't doubt that their sources agreeing with you. That's not the disagreement here.
This isn't just sources. This is the medical community.
Can you type in who owns the copyright on the word Tylenol?
Oh, Tylenol is a particular. Yeah, Tylenol's fine.
That's what I'm saying.
But acetaminophen can be made more than just by Johnson. So I guess Tylenol is owned by Kenvue, which was a consumer health company spun off from Johnson & Johnson in 2023. But Tylenol is not the only source of acetaminophen. You understand that, right?
Do you think that their funding has anything to do with what they're gonna,
So most of the funding for most medical research is, so it depends on the kind of medical research, but much of this funding comes from the NIH and the CDC.
NIH and the CDC.
Yeah, so these are federally funded. Much medical research. Now, some medical research, like for discovering new drugs, that is often funded by private pharmaceutical companies. But Tylenol, like research into Tylenol, that's not being funded in the majority by private pharmaceuticals. There's not much profit to be made there, right?
Right. So you're telling me that that's even. I mean, honestly, that would be even more concerning.
So wait a minute. Wait a minute. To be clear. If they get any funding from anywhere, it's to be concerned about, right? Like if they get funding from private organizations, then maybe they're being bought out. If they're getting funded by public organizations, then it's taxpayer funded. Like you just
now more than
trust
ever,
it regardless.
No, it's not that I don't trust it. And honestly, I'm just having a conversation about it. But you do have to take, now more than ever, people are scrutinizing where the money's coming from and where the money's going. And now more than ever, it's being
that's pretty anti-science, by the way. It's like a pretty anti-science take. Like this, people don't ask those questions about anything else except science. Because what those questions are used to do is they're used to discredit like legitimate scientific research.
Right. Look, science.
That's the only purpose of that of questions about funding there. And to be clear, modern scientific papers are entirely, like you will see all of the affiliations, all of the conflicts of interest, all of the funding sources written down in the paper. That's all freely available.
How about this? I guess what my overall arching point is, science can be like the new religion, right?
That's an anti-science view.
When the Bible, like, back then, when things were just being written down and there was the Bible, they took that as like ultimate fact, right? Like, oh, this is in the Bible, like this is absolutely true and correct. Right now we look at it, we're like, well, okay, maybe not. Like, there's a lot of fallibility there. And the same can be said about science. I think that's where probably the Republicans will come into play as far as that goes.
Right. So the Republicans seek to discredit scientific investigations. To what end?
I mean, as far as like...
Seek to defund scientific research? Seek to dismantle scientific institutions? Why?
I don't think they're trying to dismantle all of them. I don't think.
You want to bet? Well, I mean, probably not all of them. The DoD got a huge budget increase, or the proposed budget increase by the Trump administration anyway, had a huge budget increase for the R&D side of the D&D or of the DoD. But if you look at the other major sources of budget that goes towards R&D, so if you look at like NASA, the NIH, the NSF. These organizations, under Trump's proposed budget plan for 2026, they all get huge cuts.
Well, that's right, because they're trying to square the budget.
So then, why are they increasing the DoD research or the R&D program? Sorry, the R&D funding in the DoD.
The R&D funding in the DoD. I thought you said what do you mean by that?
So let me show you.
What's R&D stand for?
Research and development. It's essentially the science budget.
Well, they are funding that. I thought you said they're cutting it.
I'll explain.
Sounds like a good thing to fund.
One sec.
Research and development.
Why is it doing this? Why is it? We'll just make it bigger. Okay, it's fine. And then we'll make this smaller. There. Okay. So this is from the Congressional Research Service. It's a .gov source, so it's part of Congress, so like it's not some biased source. So here we have a description of where's the chart? Yeah, here we have a description of the budget requests, the proposed budget by Donald Trump for 2026, fiscal year 2026, compared with fiscal year 2025, right? And by the way, this is fairly recent. So if we look at the Department of Health and Human Services, and to be clear, these are for just research and development, nothing else. They're not talking about funding for anything else here. This is for just research and development, so science. The Department of Health and Human Services has a 37% decrease in research funding. The National Institute of Health, which is a part of that, has an even greater decrease in funding of 41%. The National Science Foundation, decrease in funding of 55%. NASA, decrease in funding of 34%. Department of Energy, decrease of funding in 16%. Department of Agriculture, 25%, et cetera, et cetera. Department of Education, by the way, is down by 75% in the proposed budget. The Consumer Product Safety Commission is cut entirely, down by 100%. And the only thing that's getting an increase in funding, I mean, like there's like a few that are getting like 1 or 2%, but the Department of Defense, research and development, scientific research for military programs is up by 22.87%, according to Donald Trump's budget proposal for 2026. So explain to me why all of our other scientific funding projects are being cut to huge levels, except the military.
Well, I guess the one thing that sticks out to me here would be the NASA And I can't speak on these as if I know exactly why they're cutting them. But for example, NASA, you know, they have people in the private sector currently, like Elon Musk, going into space.
So Elon Musk doesn't do anything except rockets. NASA does a lot more than rockets. NASA, the R&D portions of NASA.
Elon Musk reinvented the way that we see rockets and going into space. The
R&D portion of NASA is not about rockets. It's about telescopes. It's about science, right? It's not just about getting stuff into space.
Okay, I mean, again, okay. So,
do you want me to show you what specifically was being proposed to be cut by the NASA's budget?
Sure. I guess my point is, though, did not Elon Musk reinvent the way we go into space and make it much cheaper and affordable? And
I mean, Elon Musk didn't; his engineers did, but to an extent, although he hasn't been particularly successful. Like I think he wanted to be on Mars in 2025, right?
He hasn't been particularly successful. What are you talking about, man? He spent his
he wanted to be on Mars by 2025, didn't he?
He spent his last dime trying to get a.
Do you think that he's poor?
When he first started out, he leveraged everything.
You thought he was poor?
Didn't say
he has been funded to a huge extent by the U.S. government. You understand that, right?
That was after his success.
So here, let me show you what the NASA total budget is, and here's a breakdown for 2025, 2024, 2025, and 2026. Here's the budget proposal, or here's the the budget accounting, right? We probably don't need to look at the further future. We can just look at these ones and make it bigger. Sorry, one sec. Okay, so here, so this is the NASA total budget. In 2024, it was about $25 billion. In 2025, it was about $25 billion. The requested, meaning this is what Donald Trump was asking for, was about $19 billion. So it's a 34% decrease. Now, notably, exploration hasn't really changed. In fact, it went up a little bit. Exploration is what funds Elon Musk. Much of this, Moon to Mars system development and Moon to Mars transportation system, a lot of that money is going to Elon Musk. Right? These funds are going to go to contractors, and those contractors include SpaceX. So Donald Trump wants to increase the exploration budget so that it can pay Elon Musk more. And then let's look at the rest of the budget. So let's go down and look at the science portion of the budget, shall we? So under science, we have 7.3 billion of the 25 billion in 2024. Now when this document was put together, they didn't have the full 2025 yet, so that's why it's not there. But we can compare 2024 to 2026. So for the Earth sciences, this is like studying Earth from space using space telescopes and so on. That budget was cut in half, decreasing funding for Earth sciences by more than 50%. Elon Musk doesn't do any of that. For planetary sciences, this is studying other planets, funding cut by like 35%. Again, Elon Musk does none of that. Astrophysics, cut by 66%. Again, Elon Musk does none of that. Heliophysics, cut in half. Biological and physical sciences, cut into thirds. So, I'm sorry, why was this cut?
Right, but okay, so by your logic, they cut the Earth to Mars to send it to Elon Musk. Now, that would just
No, they didn't cut it. They increased the funding. NASA's exploration budget went up, at least the proposed budget.
So Earth to Mars?
Yep.
That
funding went up. That's not science budget.
How would they send that money to Elon Musk?
NASA subcontracts out for all of its not all, but NASA often subcontracts out for its deep space missions because NASA isn't in the business of building giant rockets anymore because, there's
someone that does it cheaper and
not better though, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, the way the current administration is going, they're like, yeah, we'd rather have cheap and kind of crappy than more expensive but more effective. And so, yeah, they're subcontracting out and giving a lot of those contracts to Elon Musk and like SpaceX, Blue Origin, and those kinds of places.
I mean, the fact that they're cutting those other budgets you were referencing, the study of the Earth and so on and so forth. I mean, that's no implication. I mean, you'd have to show me the harm.
Well, I mean, they're cutting scientific research. Do you think
that
screams anti-science to me?
Not really. I mean, the government's
Not
sludge.
really.
Like, it doesn't
Not
do
really.
anything
So we're gonna cut scientific research, but that's not anti-science.
But
We're
what's the harm?
gonna
That doesn't
lop
mean
the
it's not
scientific research in
happening.
half, but that's not gonna hurt scientific research at all. That's not anti-science.
That's not. How is it hurting?
What do you
that
think
research?
anti-science? Look, research costs money, right? If you have less money, you can do less research.
Right, but the government's not the only one doing the research.
For that kind of stuff, they basically are. For
Sure,
example,
there's plenty of private sectors that do the same thing.
No, there aren't. You can maybe name one or two companies that do something remotely similar, and that'll be it.
Yeah, you can
There's
name
not really
one company.
there's not really any profit to be gained
All you need
from you know, mapping out black holes in Andromeda or whatever.
Well, I mean, I guess
So private companies don't do that.
You
No.
could say there's not much profit to be gained by going from Earth to Mars, but I mean, look what Elon Musk has done.
Elon Musk, as far as I know, I don't think that SpaceX is turning a profit, like in the free market, right? I think what's happening is that SpaceX is turning a profit by taking government contracts, right?
Well, I mean, if he can do it with that, he can do it with anything, I suppose. But
What?
who knows?
I mean, look, the point is that like the Trump administration, if you look like across the board from the National Science Foundation, NASA, the NIH, all of these things, there are cuts across the board to scientific research funding. How is that not anti-science? Like, I just don't know. Like, do you know what that means? Like, what anti-science means?
Well, when you're against not wanting to have anti,
Yeah.
but look, when you're trying to when we're running such a massive deficit, there's got to be cuts. But anyway,
so then why increase funding for exploration? Why increase the R&D funding for the DoD?
Well, that's our national defense. Like
no, they're not. They're not funding. They're not funding like, you know, more soldiers. They're not funding building more bombs or more planes. They're funding R&D.
Research and development.
Yeah,
that's how
science.
you get new planes, new boats.
Yeah,
new
so
drones.
so what they're doing is they're funding new ways to build bombs, which, you know, fine, that's what they're doing. But so clearly they're not that concerned about the budget if they're increasing the spending on the DoD.
Well, I mean, it just right. I mean, I guess it just depends on like what their thought process is on what's important and what's not important. And I mean, you could say it's anti-science.
And to be clear, just looking at their budget, because the easiest way to tell what somebody's desires are, or look how they spend money, right? What we can tell is that the Trump administration doesn't care at all about science.
Maybe you're right. But it was nice chatting you. I'm getting phone calls, and I gotta take care of this stuff. But it was nice chatting with you, man. I appreciate you.
Likewise. Thanks for being here, veteran.
Enjoy your lives as usual.
Take care.
Bye.
All right. Let's read some super chats, and then we will move on to our next guest. From Boogie the Cat with the $5, Trump and RFK Jr. want people to die, and these morons are dumb enough to kill themselves and their kid over allegiance to a PDF file. Sad. No comment? Something defamation? From Based Ashura with the $5, COV doubles to triples the risk of cardiovascular issues post-infection. Yeah, that's true. Let's pull that up. I will add it to my debate notes list. I will add it to my to be sorted pile. By the way, speaking of which, if you want access to my debate notes, because maybe you want to talk to a family member at the holidays and you want to know why MAGA is anti-science, you can get access to my debate notes. It's like $4 or $5 a month. You can get access to them in various places. If you're a member on YouTube, you can get access to them. If you're a member on Patreon, you can get access to them. It turns out I don't think I can give you access to a link if you're on TikTok, which is really annoying. I wish I could, but I can't. I tried to, and it says, don't post a URL. So if you are a subscriber on TikTok, consider changing your subscription to YouTube instead, and then you can get access to those debate notes, which has other stuff too. It's young Earth creationism stuff, flat Earth stuff, and all sorts of stuff. All right, let's look at some more super chats. Oh, God, I don't know why it's so broken. My software that I use to filter these things. From Garain with the $20. Garain, thank you so much. Garain says, I'm usually super tolerant. Hold on, we got to make this a little bit longer. I'm normally pretty tolerant and empathetic, but these MAGA people, their behavior during COVID and then J6, I'm drained, I'm done. Anything they want to do to Darwin award themselves, go right ahead, you won't be missed. Hold on, let's not, like, they are our fellow countrymen, even if they're misguided. Let's not wish them ill will. If only because if we do, then that's used as ammo, right? From Mr. Kiki with the $5, I'm just having a conversation. If I had a nickel every time that follows some absolutely insane or idiotic take, I'd have a shitload of nickels. Yeah, right? From Eric S with the $5, the Tylenol thing is literally just Christian sadism. Women must suffer because of Eve's sin and painkillers defy God's will. Real psycho stuff. I don't think that that's everybody's motivation, but that's definitely some people's motivation. And from Wow with the $10, thank you so much. This guy moved from the funding bad arg to, oh no, the deficit spending, as if he won those previous topics and wasn't an implied concession that you were right. It was obvious that he floundered. Yep, look, most people, they don't realize that if deficit spending is your argument, then why is DoD funding going up, right? Like, it's just not. It just doesn't work. All right, let's bring up our next guest. Let's talk to David. David, how's it going?
All right. How's it going, my man?
I'm doing A-okay. David, I have a few questions that I'd like to ask you for the purposes of, gathering data. Can I ask you 4 questions that they just need a yes or no answer, and then we can move on to the conversation?
It's your platform, brother. You go right ahead.
All right. So, David, would you consider yourself MAGA?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think that humans are the main cause of climate change?
No.
Okay. Do you think that the vaccines that we typically administer to children, like think of like babies, like the vaccines that babies get, do you think that those are generally safe and effective?
Generally, but not always.
So like you would say that they're generally safe and effective. Okay. I mean, like, yeah. So
I'm kind of gray on that, but okay. I'll let you.
I can put unsure if you want. That's fine too.
Yeah, unsure, because I had a friend of mine get a polio vaccine and got polio as a child from the vax because she had a cold and the doctor didn't catch it. So yeah, vaccines do hurt people.
Okay, and do you think that humans evolved from non-human ancestors?
Possibility.
I'm going to put unsure. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
that's
great,
fine.
David. So look, the context here, I don't know if you saw part of the last conversation. The context here is, my claim is that based off of the views of people, of like the voters who call themselves MAGA, and based off of the actions of politicians who call themselves MAGA, it's pretty evident to me that the MAGA ideology, the MAGA movement, is at best uninterested in science and at worst interested in explicitly deconstructing our scientific institutions and our scientific research programs. What do you think about that?
I disagree. I know you go ahead and put your evidence, but I disagree, and I want to tell you why. But go ahead and your turn.
Yeah. So there's a lot of examples of the Trump administration cutting things, but I can give you an example of a very specific of a very specific research center that the Trump administration just wants to completely shut down. Let me show you. This is from Reuters, so it's generally regarded as a pretty neutral, pretty even-handed reporting organization. This is from a month ago. It says Trump administration to dissolve key climate research agency. So what's being shut down is something called the National Center for Atmospheric Research. This is one of the most important research centers on atmospheric research in the country. And the Trump administration wants to completely shut it down, wants to dismantle that research center and split up the pieces that they want to keep around into other parts of, they want to basically fold it into other national labs elsewhere. I think that that's probably pretty bad, shutting down like a critical research center. It conducts Earth system scientific research. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Now you got the facts right in front of you, okay? So I'm going on your word. Now, is that the same people that is spraying to control the atmosphere?
No, they're a research center.
Is that why you shut them down? Are those the same ones?
No,
that are spraying?
So the reason why, so Ross Vaught, who's the director of White House Office of Management and Budget, says the reason why they're shutting down that is because the facility is, quote, one of the largest sources of climate alarmism in the country. So they're shutting it down because, you know, being a climate research center, they talk about climate change because that's what the research says. And so the Trump administration wants to shut it down because they're talking about climate change, because they're doing climate change research. I can give you another fascinating and interesting example of another thing that was shut down or was pushed to be shut down by the Trump administration. I actually don't know the status of this one, if it actually shut it down or not. Here's another. So this is from AP, again, a respectable news outlet, the Associated Press. So the Trump administration here is shutting down a NASA satellite that measures carbon dioxide and plant health. So there's a satellite called, what's it called? The Orbiting Carbon Observatories. So these are basically satellites that are pointed towards the Earth, like they're satellite telescopes or cameras, that are pointed towards the Earth and measure the amount of carbon dioxide in the air. Now, this is important for studying climate change. Oops, sorry, one sec. Sorry, TikTok was freaking out. Now, this is important for studying climate change, but even if you don't think climate change is real, it's also very, very useful for agricultural science. And the reason why I say that is because the more carbon dioxide is in a particular place, the faster and larger plants grow. And so being able to measure and understand how carbon dioxide moves through the atmosphere, how it changes with the seasons and things like that is super useful for even agricultural purposes, disregarding all of the climate change stuff.
Well, I absolutely agree that there is climate change, and I absolutely agree with you that because I'm literally seeing it with my own two eyes down here in Florida, that we're able to grow tropical plants better than we could because it's heating up. But that is Earth's cycle. That is, remember the ice age? Did we cause that?
Well, we can talk about that in a minute, but whether or not you think we caused it, the point is that something is happening, and monitoring it and understanding it so we can be prepared is critical for, human flourishing, right? And the Trump administration is shutting down a satellite that lets us do that.
Now, okay, I will tell you why. Casey, I'm an older man. I've been around the world, done a lot of stuff. If you can figure that out. But the reason why he's cutting back on a lot of this spending is because I don't think this is news to you because you seem very educated, that we're at war. We are literally at war. So he is cutting back and putting our money in the military because we are at war. And for you young lads, you need to get in shape because I'm really angry about what they did a few years back, because people put things off. Oh, it's just a couple years from now, no big deal. Now they done made it where women get drafted also. I don't like
Sorry, who are we at war with?
Iran.
Oh, okay. So just to be clear, what do you think about what do you think was the most No, I'm sorry. What do you think is the most successful war that the United States has prosecuted in the last 100 years?
Prosecuted, or you mean like? Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Which war do you think that the United States was most successful in the last 100 years? There's a correct answer here, by the way.
Yeah, I know there's a correct answer, and well, correct answer for you.
No,
But,
just a correct
World
answer,
War-
period. Like, just
World War
objectively.
II, World War II, World War
Yeah,
II.
like we were obviously like you know, Korea, we were not particularly successful. Vietnam,
No,
we were not
just World
particularly
War II,
successful.
World War- yeah.
Definitely
Yeah.
World War II. Now,
Yeah.
do you want to go compare the science spending during World War II compared to the science spending now?
Well, you do realize
Because
what one
You'll
World War
find
II.
that the United States spent so much money on science during World War II.
Yeah. And do you not? Okay, you do understand. I need to. I'm trying to be polite and all because I can tell you're a cool cat. But you understand that building weapons of destruction is science.
Well, some would argue it's engineering.
There's still science behind
just building them is not science.
There's still science behind it. You
Well,
know,
there's
the
science behind
atoms-
everything, but like the
Yeah.
point is building them is
So
not building them is
there's
not
still-
science. That's engineering. Right.
War is science. It really is.
War
If
is
you've been-
war
have
isn't
you
science.
been to
That's
war?
a little bit silly.
Have you been to war? I have. It's
No,
science.
can you tell me what so you've been to war, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Science.
and you say that war is science. Could you tell me
It's
what the
just like- it's just
scientific
like-
method is?
Yeah, it's just chess is science. Like you said,
Can you tell me what
everything
the scientific method is?
everything's science, man. Okay.
Can you tell me what the scientific method is?
Well, it's all according to what you're doing.
Well,
You know,
there
if-
is like a scientific method. That's what science is. Science is the
Yeah,
application
there's
of the scientific method.
behind everything.
So what is the scientific
if
method?
Infantry, if you do what I do, then it's the curvature of the earth.
Well,
It's
but
the
David,
wind.
David.
It's the things like that.
David, my point is if you went to war and war is science, then you should be able to tell me what the scientific method is. As somebody who
There's-
clearly used it, you should be able to tell me what it is, right?
Well, it's all according to what your job is, man.
The
Like
scientific
in
method
war,
is not the scientific method is one thing. It doesn't depend on what kind of science you're doing.
disposed of the enemy. If you just want to, be brutal about it, But I mean, I'm
But
trying to be.
that's not the scientific method. That sounds like something else.
Well, it takes science to do that. You got to know human anatomy. If you don't know human anatomy, like if we get invaded by, another entity, if we don't know their anatomy,
So-
how are we going to know to defeat them?
Just to be clear, knowing things isn't science, right?
It is, man.
No,
I mean,
no,
if
that's
you're
not what science is. Somebody isn't a scientist because I don't know, because they know that the sun or that the earth orbits around the sun. That doesn't make them a scientist just by knowing that.
Well, that's facts. But I don't know. Maybe amateur scientists.
No, they're still not an amateur. Just knowing things doesn't make you a scientist. Being a scientist, doing science, it's like a particular occupation, right?
It's not necessarily, dude. I know guys that come out of prison that I'd rather have for a lawyer than a regular lawyer, dude.
Okay, but
So they're self-taught. They're self-taught.
you can be a self-taught scientist, but that still
Yes.
means being a scientist is a particular occupation, right?
Yeah, they're scientists. Yeah, but like you said, there's science behind everything.
That doesn't make war
Mathematics.
science.
There is a science behind war. But look at how did we win?
Look, there's science
How did we
behind
win?
it.
How just
David,
I'm sorry. I don't
there's
wanna
science
interrupt you.
behind everything. That doesn't
Yes.
make everything science.
Okay, look, science did. Okay, right now, what's going on in Ukraine? Okay, the
There
science.
is, trench warfare.
The science is horrible. The science behind the drones. It took science to build them drones, man.
That was
It took
engineering.
science. It's still science. It's like
Engineering is not science, unless you're like a particular kind of engineer, like an
exactly.
engineering
It took a
scientist.
scientist engineer to come
No,
up with
but,
it.
no. I mean, engineering is a separate thing from science. There's like some overlap, but like they're separate things.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The overlap. The overlap is the technicality. Like you got to know the science behind propellers and how to you got to know that science, man. Not
That's
just
engineering. You're describing engineering.
With
Like
man, I feel like we're talking about
aeronautical engineers aren't scientists. They're engineers.
Well, that's in your opinion. Well, okay. Maybe the definition scientifically, but I say that's science. Like what I used to do, zap somebody from a mile away. There's a lot of science and mathematics all behind all that too. So there's that.
So look,
So anyway,
my point is so it sounds like what you're saying is that like, oh, it's fine that we are anti-science because we're at war. We have to be anti-science because we're at war.
What good is science going to help us if we're conquered, man?
Do you think that Iran is going to invade the United States?
They're already here.
Oh. No, they're not.
The open border, bro. Did you not see who was coming across the? See, you're not in my line of work.
Where are the Iranian soldiers?
They're scattered everywhere. They're in San Francisco. They're in California.
Where is the Islamic Republic of Iran army? Where is the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps? The IRGC. Are they here?
I do not have Islamophobia. Okay, so you can't.
No, that's just what the branches of the Iranian military are called. Right?
I know.
There's
you don't think they're here?
Islamic Republic of Iran army, and then there's the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps.
Yeah, there is.
And so where are members of these forces in the United States?
I got to be careful because I don't want to mess your live up, nor me. We will all soon find out.
So, do I have any reason to think that they're here?
Yes.
Okay, what's the reason?
They came across the border, bro.
Well, what's the evidence of that? That like these Iranian soldiers came across the border in like an invasion, right?
Well, here's where you got me on the science. Okay, I don't see. That's where I say science because I wasn't literally there videoing counting heads at every place they could come across, but I literally saw military-aged male Chinese. I literally saw military-age males that were not from South America coming across that border. You don't know what I do.
So you saw people that are between the ages of 18 and 30 or so?
Mostly military-aged men.
Military-aged men just means between 18 and 30?
Yep. No, not actually, because in Ukraine, 60-year-old men are still fighting.
Okay, so what do you mean when you say military-aged men? Do you just mean anybody between 18 and 60?
I hate to use a military term on here because it's kind of...
Just tell me the age range.
Well, what I consider military would be from 15 to 61.
So, okay, so to be clear, when you say...
It's all according on the person's genetics. It's all according to the science.
Sure.
So when
you said you see military-age males crossing the border, you just mean you see males crossing the border. You're just referring to like the vast majority of men.
When I was in Texas,
David, hold on. It sounds like you're just saying you're seeing men cross the border.
Okay, listen.
Because you're including basically all men, because basically all men are between ages of 15 and 60.
And a lot of those men were wearing a particular brand of clothes that is known to be military clothing.
Okay, so is this just like a trust me, bro?
And we call for fact, we call 2 Russian mercs coming in. We call
I thought that they were Iranian.
No, we got threats from all over the world, man. We're on too many fronts. We got Ukraine and Russia going on. We got Venezuela going on. We are spread too thin, man. This shit's not looking good. That's why we're having to defund shit and go to our military. You don't understand what's going on. If you
it sounds like you're making a lot of claims here, but you can't back them up at all.
Dude, man, it's called classified information.
Are you still in the military?
Classified information, bro. Look, I'm
just
on here.
You can tell me if you're still in the military. That's the classified about that.
Man, I'm not even gonna say I ever was in the military. I'm not even gonna say that.
You already said that you were in the military.
I never said I was in the military. No, I did not.
Yeah, you did. Okay, you're right. You didn't say that. So either you said that you were taking people out from a kilometer away. So either you were in the military or you're a murderer.
Or
I guess you could also be you'd still be a murderer, right? Like those are the two options.
There's this thing called private military contractor, son.
So a murderer.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
Guess so. You know what? You do what you got to do. Somebody harms my battle buddy, I'm going to take their whole family out.
So wait a minute. So you're telling me you weren't in the military?
I'm not gonna involve the military in this. I'm just telling
you weren't in the
what
military. Got it.
Yeah, I'll go with that. Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Whatever you believe, man.
But so you're just asking me to trust you that, like, oh, we're being invaded by Iran, and that's why we're anti-science?
I'm not asking you to trust me at all. I don't even know how we went down this path. I was just telling you science about taking a long shot, something that I did for a profession. Okay.
Right. So look, David, the reason why
prove me anti-science. Prove me anti-science.
David, the reason why you said that it's okay to cut military spend or cut science spending is because you said that we're at war.
We are at war.
And when I ask you for the evidence that we're at war, that we're at risk of being invaded, you can't present anything.
Dude, you don't see the evidence. You don't see the writing on the wall.
What's the evidence?
Iran themselves done officially declared war against America, bro. Are you not keeping up with this shit? Listen,
so
please
what's the
learn
evidence
something.
that we're at risk of being invaded here?
They're already fucking here.
Okay, what's the evidence of that?
Common sense, man.
So you don't have any evidence, is what you're telling me?
I got common sense, and you don't have any. That's what you're telling me. You're going to tell me that you got
David,
all these people. No,
David,
I didn't mean to insult you. I'm sorry.
David,
I'm sorry. I didn't insult you. I'm trying to be civil.
David, flat earthers often say that, they know the earth is flat. They have common sense. Common sense just isn't worth much around these parts. So do you have evidence?
Well, that's a you problem, bro. I'm trying to tell you the facts.
I just want evidence. I'm very pro-science, so if you have evidence, I'd love to hear it.
The C-19 conversation, we'll talk about evidence, okay? You are way off base with that. You're right on a lot of things, okay?
By the way, to be clear, Iran has not formally declared or issued a declaration of war against the United States.
You're not. Look, and let me tell you something. I'll tell you something else. Then you'll go.
When did they do that?
When you look back, so when you look back, you'll see. You're going to see. When you look back, you're going to go,
you just said that they formally declared war on the United States, didn't you? Isn't that what you said, or did I mishear you?
A southern drawl for not being educated.
I would never. Now, did you say that Iran formally declared war on the United States?
Yes, they did.
Okay, when did they?
Now, you gotta go with common. You go with what you want.
Like a formal declaration of war is a very particular thing. So when did it happen?
Look, if somebody drives by your residence and lights it up.
So why'd you lie to me then?
I did not lie to you. They said they.
Did Iran issue a formal declaration of war?
Look, I'm not a tech guy. I'm sure you could probably look it up somewhere.
I did check. I looked it up. Iran has not formally issued a declaration of war against the United States.
First, you got.
I looked it up already.
Bro, it was a verbal. We are at war with America.
Okay, so they didn't issue a formal declaration of war?
Dude, if I tell you and look you and tell you we are at war, I don't have to write it down. We are at fucking war, bro.
Okay, but we agree that there's no formal declaration of war. What definitely did happen is the supreme leader said, what's the exact quote?
Declared war, bro.
Hold on, I'm pulling up the quote. So their supreme leader said, in my opinion, we are in a full-fledged war with America, Israel, and Europe. They do not want our country to stand on its feet. That's what he said. So like this was his opinion.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
In my opinion,
David,
we are at war with who?
David.
America.
America, Israel, and Europe. That was in his opinion. So David, one sec. I don't know about you, but I try not to share opinions with the supreme leader of Iran. Do you like to share opinions with the supreme leader of Iran?
Yes, I would, because you've never dealt with them. You've never dealt with them.
I was talking to an Iran supporter.
No, you're not. Actually, as a matter of fact, I'm one of the old guys that'll go over there and get shit done first. But we got bigger problems on the table. But we go ahead. Let's get after we talk about this. Well, it's all according to how much, but this flu that's going around. But anyway, let's talk about the C19. But yeah, we're at war. You're going to see.
Right. So with regards to
let's get back to science. Let's get back to science.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the science. So, do you think it's the case that Americans should primarily trust scientists with regards to scientific claims, or do you think that Americans should primarily trust politicians with regards to scientific claims?
I think they should really be cautious with your trust. Find out what their agenda is, but as just a elementary saying, yes, trust the scientists. But
so why is it that Republicans trust President Trump with regards to health issues, recommendations of health issues, as much as they trust their own doctors? Seems kind of weird, isn't it?
Well, I'm a Republican, and I trust my doctor with my health more than I would trust Trump.
So you're in the minority. So 84% of Republicans say they.
If you can say that, whatever the anti-jab. Oh, I'm anti-jab, so I don't.
84% of Republicans say they trust President Trump to make the right recommendations on health issues, and it's the same percentage that says that they trust their own doctors to make the right recommendations on health issues. Seems kind of weird, isn't it?
Yeah, that does seem weird. Maybe
it's true, but it's weird. I agree, it's weird.
Maybe the people doing these polls that you're looking at has other agendas.
I mean, maybe. The source for that one is KFF.
You gotta trust your resource.
We have KFF.
I'm preaching to the choir. You verify your resources.
So KFF is a health policy organization. They do. They're nonpartisan, and that's where the data for that poll came from. Here's another poll. You might find interesting. This is from YouGov.
That's why I'm up here, man, because I was enjoying talking with the other guy.
So this is from YouGov. Democrats are more trusting than Republicans of several potential sources of medical advice. So Democrats are more likely to trust their doctors than Republicans are. They're much more likely to trust medical researchers than Republicans are. They're much more likely to trust the Center for Disease Control and Prevention than Republicans are. And they're much more likely to trust public health officials than Republicans are with regards to medical advice. Democrats don't really trust pharmaceutical companies, slightly more than Republicans, but not that much more. And so it's kind of weird. Like, why do Democrats trust medical researchers, these are scientists, so much more than twice as much as, sorry, not more than twice as much, about twice as much as Republicans do? Isn't that weird?
Well, there's two things on that. Okay, well, there's actually many variables on that, but I'll just stick with the elementary stuff. For one, people have their own mind and make up their own decisions. Okay, because no one knows your body better than you. If you think you got something going wrong and a doctor says you don't, you go to another doctor because you know your body better than anybody else. That's facts. Now, are you a doctor and all that? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm just a field medic. I can keep your ass alive till a real doctor gets there. If
a field medic? I thought you were taking people out from a kilometer away.
Dude, you got to know how to use tourniquets if you're doing that kind of shit.
Okay, whatever you say, buddy.
And you got to know how to do seal chest wounds, and you got to know how to pack wounds. You're living dangerous. Well, I'll just keep it to the regular people. You're living dangerous if you're working as a bouncer and you don't have some MMA training and shit. Let's put it that way. Okay.
But you weren't in the military, right?
Bro.
You weren't in the military, though.
No.
Okay. Because we wouldn't want to, people are accusing you of stolen...
Contractor, there's a difference, bro.
Right. People are accusing you of stolen valor, and I wouldn't want them to be mistaken.
No, because I wouldn't know. That's why I would never say that.
I'm glad you would never say that. Look, the point is
those guys look, I respect those guys way more than me because I ain't even gonna lie. I did it for the money. I ain't even gonna lie.
Sure. Yeah. So look, it's just kind of weird, right? Like if we're looking for medical advice, right? If we're looking for medical advice, you wouldn't ask yourself because you're seeking advice. That's what advice is. You get the opinion of someone else. So the question is who do people trust for medical advice, right? And it turns out Republicans are like way less trusting of like medical researchers and, you know, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention than Democrats are. And that's weird.
Oh, let me ask. So want somebody in the chat there real quick. I'm sorry, brother. I didn't mean to do that to you. Is that okay if I answer somebody in your chat?
You probably shouldn't. Because
okay,
then they'll just rage bait you.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going by your rules, man. Your platform.
I appreciate that. Yeah. So isn't that kind of weird though that like for some reason Republicans trust, you know, scientists and doctors less than Democrats do?
Well, not everybody's smart, man.
So are you telling me that Republicans are less likely to be smart than Democrats?
No, I'm saying that there's a lot of unsmart people on both sides.
But then why are the Democrats more trusting of medical researchers in the CDC than Republicans?
Maybe they haven't been screwed over as much, and they have trust, and they don't have trust issues like most Republicans do.
Are you saying that Republicans have trust issues?
Or maybe they just like, okay, this is a trained professional that went to college and all, and I'm putting my life in their hands, and I'm not asking any questions, just letting them do whatever the hell they want to do. I'm not that guy. But anyway. Well, I understand what you're saying. Okay,
I mean,
but
look,
I'm not
accusing you of anything. I'm not accusing you of anything. All I'm saying is that
you know how many unnecessary heart surgeries they do in this country because
I'm sure that there's a lot. My point is that I'm not accusing you of anything.
People trust their daughters, and that's why
I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm sorry,
coming in hot, man. I'm just an old guy. I'm sorry.
It's fine. You're allowed to be old.
All night, man. I'm working as a bouncer now. So shit.
What I'm saying is that there is a trend amongst Republicans where they distrust scientists, they distrust doctors, they distrust researchers far more than Democrats do. And specifically MAGA. Specifically MAGA. I never said every Republican. I'm talking about general trends.
Even MAGA,
right?
not all MAGA are intelligent people, by the way.
I'm not. Look, we can talk about that if you want, but it probably won't go well. But my point is that
for whatever reason, I call them like a season. That's why I'm trying not to be hot. I work security and I had a rough night last night, man.
I'm sorry to hear that, man. So look, David. My point is that for whatever reason, who knows why? We could probably figure out why, but who knows why? For whatever reason, Republicans and MAGA in particular are far less likely to trust medical professionals, scientists, researchers, professors. This is very weird. It should make you question why they are far less likely to trust these groups of people. These people who are experts at in their fields. Why? Why are they far less likely than, you know, everybody else?
I can answer that question.
Please.
The reason why they don't trust them is because they don't know their agenda. It's like see, a lot of doctors lost their credibility after the C-19. Like, for instance, you were talking about the mask. I'm not a pro. I never wore the mask except for when I absolutely had to at work. Okay. I worked through the whole C-19. And, the mask literally helps keep from you spreading it. Doesn't help so much keeping you catching it.
It does help keeping you catch it.
It will a little bit.
It does offer protection.
It will stop some particles, but not all. But here's what you're missing, and maybe just to help you out with your science: the eyes. Luckily, you wear glasses. You can get it through the eyes also. See, that's part of science you don't know. You can catch COVID through your eyes also. That's why people were catching them on planes that were all masked up because they didn't have eye protection, and that air is recirculated, and that's why so many people on planes caught the 19.
Just checking this fact because I'm a little bit skeptical of this.
If I got COVID and I'm spraying, just like, so David, if I wasn't wearing a mask and it got in your eyes, you're going to catch it.
Why'd you interrupt me?
I'm sorry.
So what is the case is that you can catch COVID through your eyes. It's just much less common.
That's because they're going to make everybody wear glasses too? Come on, man.
No, it's just much less common.
Well, it may be less common, but follow the science. You know, if it's less.
The science says that it's much less common.
Right. So if it's less common, there's still a risk. If it's less common, that still means there's a risk.
Yeah,
and that's
sure.
science. So why the hell wasn't everybody wearing glasses too?
Because the risk was low.
Well, everybody I knew that wore the damn mask caught the shit down here in Florida.
In Florida, not a lot of people were wearing masks in Florida.
Oh, yeah, they were. We were shut down for a good minute, man. I was riding my motor, so when everybody was supposed to be locked down, that's when me and my 1,400-member motorcycle crew were raring the freaking roads up because there were nobody on the roads. Everybody was at home scared. We were riding around having the time of our life.
You know what's interesting? Apparently, and it's funny because this was the page was deleted and we could go find the archive, but apparently in 2020 the CDC actually did recommend eye protection for healthcare workers.
Yeah. See, I recommended it for everyone. See, I'm not.
Right,
see, I'm not
so
anti-science.
So
I told everyone, I was like,
I
if you're going to
I thought you didn't wear a mask.
I didn't, because I wanted to build up immunity. See, but I
catching
told
the
everyone,
disease is not how you build up immunity, by the way. That's just called catching the disease.
Virus.
The reason why you want immunity is so that you don't get the disease, right? That's the whole purpose of immunity. But if you're getting yourself the disease so that you can build immunity, you're avoiding the problem anyway. Like it's just like you're defeating the purpose.
When you get polio vaccine, polio's in the shot. You got to get a little bit of it for your body.
It's dead polio. At least it is now. I think it was live polio in the past, but it is now.
I have a friend that has polio because she got the shot as a child and she had a cold.
How old is your friend?
She's probably in her 30s now, but that's still the science, man. Science changes. Look at the science 100 years ago. Look at the science 100 years ago, man.
Just to be clear, your friend is in the 30s. So the only polio vaccine that's used in the United States is made from an inactivated dead virus. So either your friend is old, and got polio.
I don't know. I'm not real.
Either your friend is old, or she didn't get polio.
No, did Jessica get fucking polio? Yes.
Okay. How old is she?
Did she get it from the fucking vaccine? Yes. How old is she? She's older than I think.
39.
39. Sorry, my bad.
I would be.
I'm trying not to cuss, man. I just, like I said, I had a rough night. I apologize for that.
You're fine. You're allowed to cuss. It's not a big deal. So did you get the polio vaccine like in like Turkmenistan? Like
no, in America, bro. And I promise
I actually don't even know how frequent polio vaccines are administered these days.
Dude, she's almost 40 years old. My wife.
So what did she? So what did she get? What actually was it an oral vaccine or a shot?
That I don't know. I was not there. Her mother brought her home. I was her neighbor. She went and had her kids vaccinated. Brought her home. I noticed the kid has sniffles, and I was like, you shouldn't get your kids vaccinated when they got sniffles. And she's like, oh, she'll be all right. Next day later, I hear her screaming. I run over there. The kid had absolutely no fillings in her legs. We took her to the hospital. Bam, polio, because she got the fucking polio. Excuse my language.
What kind of vaccine did she get?
I don't know. I don't know. I was younger then, I wasn't like taking notes and stuff. Now I would write that shit down. But then, no, I was younger. I was
okay. So how long did it go? Did this happen? Like 30 years ago, something like this?
Shit's no longer than that.
Wait a minute. My wife can she walk now?
Not properly.
Okay, so the last administered.
She even still has to use a catheter, man.
So the last administered oral polio vaccine, which is the one that has the live virus in it, or that can become the live virus, was administered 25 years ago. When you're administered, hold on.
She's 40 years old.
So the oral polio vaccine, according to Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, the oral polio vaccine has about a 1 in 2.4 million chance of causing paralysis. Because the virus in the oral polio vaccine changes back to the wild type virus, and then you get an infection. So it's possible that your friend. It's possible that your friend who got their polio vaccine before the year 2000 was one of 2.4 million people who got the polio vaccine, and she was the only one who got vaccinated, or who got paralysis from it. That's possible. It's not likely, but it's possible.
I'm not going to come on here and lie, man. I'm not going to lie. I'm not
Right,
going to.
but that doesn't make the polio vaccine dangerous, right?
I'm not going to compromise my integrity for nobody.
Does that mean that the polio vaccine is dangerous if there's a less than 1 in a million chance that it causes
Well, 1 in a
any sort of
million.
dangerous?
What's your odds of getting struck by lightning? But when that shit pops off, you carry your ass in the house, don't you?
Well, I actually don't know the odds of getting struck by lightning. Want to look it up? Look it up.
Look it up, but you still carry your ass in the house, and the odds are
So
not.
wait, so you never go outside when there's like a thunderstorm? So actually,
yeah,
you had.
I walk
by the way,
around in the lightning,
by the
going,
way,
"Is that
by
all
the way,
you got?"
by
Just
the
like
way,
fucking
by the way,
Lieutenant Dan.
By the way, you have like in orders of magnitude better chance of getting struck by lightning in your lifetime than you do of getting polio from the oral polio vaccine.
Right, but when it's
You're
lightning,
way
it's
more
don't-
likely to get
listen,
struck by lightning than to get polio from the oral polio
but-
vaccine.
Well, still,
In fact,
she still got it. That doesn't change.
You're
the
like
fact.
more than 100 times more likely to get struck by lightning.
Okay, but there's still a chance. What's the odds of winning the lottery?
Look,
But people do.
we do things like every time you get in a car, there's a risk of death, right?
Absolutely, I ride a motorcycle, so
Yeah, but you still ride your motorcycle.
Yep, and I carry a tourniquet.
Wait a minute, hold on. Somebody in the
carry a
comments has just
tourniquet.
informed me of something. Hold on. Yeah, okay, so do you know what year your friend what year this happened?
She was a child, and she's almost 40 years old now, and she was a child. She was, just a child. When I say child, I say under 3 years old or so.
So
I
like
don't,
maybe
no.
late 80s maybe?
She's just a child then, say around
Late 80s,
3,
early 90s?
and she's 40 now. Do the math.
Okay. So 1990, let's say. So there were a total, just so you know, there were a total of 6 polio cases in 1990.
Well, she was one of them, buddy. She was one of them.
Okay.
I swear.
So 6
I
of
promise
literally
you.
everybody in the United States, there were 6.
No, don't get me wrong. I'm not anti-polio vax. I'm just saying that they're not 100%, safe.
Nobody ever said 100%. Nobody
Yeah.
ever said that.
I'm just saying when we were just on science, I'm just like, well, with the science,
Look, so the point is that that's like researchers will tell you this, right?
like people should be wearing glasses. They're worried about if they're going to wear a mask, they're idiots for not wearing glasses.
Well,
I'm
no,
just
I mean
saying
that's
they
not
don't-
true.
And that's
wearing a
Democrat,
mask.
and that's also Democrats.
David,
Okay.
chill.
Okay, I'm sorry, bro. Okay, I'm trying.
Wearing a mask provides more protection than wearing glasses because your risk of infection from the mouth and the nose is significantly higher than it is through the eyes, right?
Well, that's like saying that, wearing a sheep coated one is not as good as wearing a latex one, but dude, if you're going to try to reduce your odds in every way, if you can get it through the eyes, cover your damn eyes up. If you're going to cover your mouth and nose up, then cover your eyes up.
It's a matter of David. It's just a matter of evaluating risk.
That's the science.
David, it's just a matter of evaluating risk. If the risk is low, then there's no reason to do that. The risk of infection through the mouth and nose is quite high, so there's reason to do it. The risk of infection through the eyes is quite low, so there's not reason to do it.
So if it's low, then okay, well then
That's literally this is why we get in cars. The risk of getting killed in a car accident is fairly
1 in
low.
8.
So people still that's lifetime, right?
Yeah, 1 in 8. 1 in 8 people
Why are you interrupting me? I was in the middle of a sentence.
I'm sorry. If I don't say what I'm thinking, I'll lose it. I'm sorry.
The risk of getting into a fatal car accident anytime you step into a car is fairly low. And so we still get into cars even though it has a chance to kill you. Because it's just risk evaluation. Now look, the whole point of the live is that there is tons of evidence from different angles, both from the policy point of view, the funding point of view of the Trump administration and of MAGA Republicans, and evidence from polling data of voters who call themselves MAGA, that MAGA is either not interested in science whatsoever or is interested in actively dismantling our scientific institutions. Why is that the case?
Well, you would call it conspiracy theory, but so let's just go with. I'm gonna stick with the science. I'm sticking with the science because this is what this is about. And back to, okay, well, I just see no point in wearing a mask if I wasn't going to wear glasses. And also, in my opinion, okay, I felt that if I got exposed to the first round of it, that I would build up an immunity for it, because in my line of work, I am literally around hundreds of people every night. So,
I believe you.
Because I am head of security. I'm just going to say I'm head of security at Deja Vu in Tampa, Florida. Anybody want some, come get some. Anyway.
Okay. Look, David, is there anything else you want to talk about? Or otherwise, I'm going to let you go.
Well, and then, like I said, the science, man. You're saying MAGA is not anti-science, and I'm telling you, I am MAGA, and I'm not anti-science.
Okay, but I'm not referring to you specifically. I'm referring to the movement and the ideology.
Well, I think your statistics may be off, man, because I'm down here in Florida. I'm in MAGA land, dude, surrounded by, and some of them are inbred, okay? I'm not going to lie. Some of the MAGA are inbred. That's facts. But there's a lot of, I know doctors, and I know a lot of very intelligent people that are MAGA also.
I don't think that the numbers here are false. That, like, for example, MAGA people who call themselves MAGA, for example, are, I don't know, or let's say conservatives are less likely to believe in evolution. Like, that's true. It's weird and true, isn't it?
That's because most conservatives are Christians, man. And, we like, okay.
Even actually, so interestingly enough, even accounting for religiosity, the more educated a conservative gets, the less likely they are to believe in religion, to believe in evolution. Isn't that weird?
Well, I believe in evolution on some sense, but not the way that we're taught. We've been indoctrinated from children to believe a certain way, to get up, go to school, get taught a lot of useless crap that literally was just training us to get up and go to work every day and be part of this damn system that we're in deep shit right now because democracy, America is a republic, not a democracy.
I seem confused. Those two things are not mutually exclusive, right? A republic is a kind of government where the leaders of the state are
one republic under God.
So David,
republic under God.
David, a republic is a style of government where the leaders of the state are not a single individual, and it's not and the leadership is not hereditary. So, for example, the Roman Republic was a republic because they had senators rather than an emperor. It became the Roman Empire when the senators lost power. It was a republic when the senators had power. Even though they weren't elected, they were senators. The power was spread amongst a ruling class, if you will. But whether or not the United States is a democracy is about how those leaders come into power. So we are both a democracy and a republic. Both things can be true. That's just what a democracy is, a style of governmental organization where people vote for those in power or vote for policies. A republic is a style of governmental organization where you have non-hereditary officials who run the government, right? So
yes,
these are two, like, both things can be true at the same time.
Right. But it's semantics, but we're still, if you say the Pledge of Allegiance, it's one republic under God. And that's what I was trying to get to you. That's why a lot of conservatives are Christians and they believe in God. And they're like, no, I'm a creation of God, not a creation from a monkey.
Okay,
and,
but
everyone is entitled to their opinion. I don't judge nobody.
Do you think it's weird that the typical climate change conspiracy believer is more likely to be a young person with a right-wing ideology who distrusts scientists compared with somebody with a left-wing ideology?
Well, because the people on the left, like Al Gore, according to Al Gore in Florida, we should be swimming right now, bro.
Fortunately, we don't have to listen to him because he's not a scientist.
Well, he claimed to be, and all about this climate change and everything, and
he never claimed to be a scientist, by the way. Look, the point of the matter is that if you are right-wing,
I'm not denying climate change.
If you are right-wing, you are more likely to think that climate change is a conspiracy. You're more likely to think that vaccines cause autism. You are more likely to think that evolution didn't happen. You are less likely to trust scientists, researchers, and medical professionals. You are less likely to be interested in funding scientific research. Like, these are like borne out through the data, right? So
and you know what?
Why is that the case?
I'm gonna tell you. See, because I'm gonna be honest with you. We're grown up.
I love honesty.
I'm gonna tell you, because we're conservative Christians, man, and we put our faith in the Lord, not man.
Okay.
That's why.
So
it
just sounds anti-science.
We've been
like it can be fine. Like it's fine if you're anti-science. It's just true.
No, not anti-science at all. I'm telling you, I'm very into science. Very, very.
So do you believe scientific consensuses when they tell you what the scientific consensus is?
Who is paying the scientists? Where are they? See, we got trust issues, man. Because you do realize, during the Vietnam War,
do you ask the same question about everybody who tells you anything? Who's paying you?
Right. I'm just like, do you realize in the Vietnam War, the American government experimented on our asses down here in Florida with the Agent Orange, man? The very thing that killed my father in Vietnam.
Weird that you're not talking about science.
That's science, man. Agent Orange, you don't think that it took science to come up with a toxin like that? That's science, man.
So coming up with the toxin and then like experimenting on people, like those aren't the same thing?
You're going to say that's not science?
Probably not, actually. I imagine it wasn't run by scientists, right?
Yeah, yes, it was.
Who?
That's science, man. See, you need to learn history. See, who
are the scientists responsible for it?
Well, see, this is where us old guys got the advantage on you young guys. It's because we got life experience.
David,
I will never say I'm smarter than you.
You keep saying that that it's not anti-science, but then you keep saying anti-science things.
Well, I don't understand what you mean anti-science. They sprayed us like bugs, man, to test out Agent Orange, especially down in the Glades, dude.
Look, you keep saying...
They sprayed the Miccosukee tribe like hell, and that was wrong.
David. I said that this is evidence that MAGA specifically and Republicans in general are anti-science. And then you said, they're not anti-science, they're just questioning where the funding came from. That's a type of science denial. That's what that is. Yeah. Because you know what, David, you know what? Denial. That information is available to you. You can go check it. It's available.
Okay, say for instance, I want to be careful because I want to keep TikTok friendly and all that. So if I'm trying to, how would you say his name? The Germany guy, how would you say his name without getting in trouble? Because I don't want to mess anything up.
Just call him Mustache Man.
Okay, Mustache Man. Mm-hmm. You know how much science Mustache Man used, dude?
You know what he did? Interestingly enough, he actually arguably one of the reasons why they didn't get the nuclear bomb is because the Nazi ideology prohibited them from using Jewish science. Albert Einstein's work was considered Jewish science, and so they refused to use that science. They were anti-science. They ignored scientific research because it was made by Jews.
Well, they probably didn't trust it, but because that's
exactly what you're doing.
No. Well, you know what? I will agree with you on. I'm not saying that's exactly, but I will agree with you. Yeah, I don't trust them. I have trust issues.
You know, if I had something in common with Mustache Man, I would reconsider.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying he used science, bro. I'm not saying that. If I was on that, I would have took his ass out when they had a chance with a long barrel, when they had a chance at the wolf's den. But they said no, because he ain't got enough sense. He's going to drag them down. Let him drag them down. They'll get a better leader if we take him out. Because he's doing fast.
David,
that's why he had a stroke.
David, it just seems like you distrust scientists.
I trust myself. I trust my intuition. I call it the Holy Ghost, buddy.
Question. If RFK Jr. said that, I don't know, he said that NyQuil caused brainworms, would you believe him?
if he had it backed up with some sort of evidence, like you literally said that there was.
Wait,
some
why aren't you
sort of
questioning
connection.
why aren't you questioning where that evidence gets its funding?
Exactly, I am.
No, you
But
didn't.
you know
You
what?
said you didn't. You
'Cause
said,
I'ma
well,
tell you
if
right
there's
now.
evidence.
If RFK didn't fall out of the race, that's who I was going to vote for. But instead, I voted for Trump because RFK backed him. And you know, Trump did a good job the first time. This time, we shall see. But you know, wanting your president to fail is the most stupidest thing in the world.
I don't want him to
because
fail. I want him to be more pro-science.
I want him right now. Science is the last thing we need to be worried about. We need to be
So
getting
why are you
ready
so
our
okay?
asses
So
for war. We
so you
are
are
at
anti-science.
war. You're going to see, man. We are at war, bro. This is some serious
so you are
shit.
so you are anti-science.
No, I'm not.
Your words.
I'm
Your
all
words.
about building
Science.
them tomahawks. I'm all
Your
about
words.
building them tomahawks, baby.
Your words. Sorry, I have to mute you because you can't let me say anything. Your words were science is the last thing we need to worry about. It just sounds like you're anti-science.
No, because I would use scientists building tomahawks or whatever
Those
the
are
hell we
engineers.
have.
Scientists don't build
You
tomahawks.
think it didn't take science to come up with that technology?
That's the people who develop the technology are not the people who build them.
The people that developed the technology were scientists. Mic drop.
I don't even know if that's true, actually.
Mic drop. I do know it's true.
Okay,
When you get older, you understand.
Who developed the tomahawk?
It's called wisdom, man. Look, I'm
It's
not
called wisdom,
somebody...
so you don't have any evidence for this. Okay, let's look at the operational history.
Evidence.
Okay, we're gonna look at the operational history. No, not operational history. We want it was developed at the this is funny, at the Applied Physics Laboratory under James H. Walker. Let's see, who is James H. Walker? So he
Like,
was
you don't
a
even know that.
hold on,
sorry.
we're finding out.
Yeah, I'll
We're
wait.
doing
I'll
some
wait.
research. My guess is that he wasn't a scientist. But maybe he was.
Wrong. He was. But
No,
fine.
we're gonna. Wait, so you know this for a fact?
Yeah, look it up. Go ahead. Look it
We're
up.
looking it up. Do you know who James H. Walker is?
I don't know names, man.
So then you don't know that he was a scientist, right?
I know it took science to develop those weapons.
So
Period. That's all there is to it. There's no way around it. It took science.
James
You
H.
got to
Walker,
know math. You got to know physics.
What's it called?
You
What's
got
it
to
called
know-
when it's like a?
Put,
It's like,
okay,
like a
just
biography.
putting
yeah.
a
Let's see.
rifling in a barrel is science, bro.
So James H. Walker. This is a different James H. Walker. There were several. James Walker obituary. Here we go. Okay, I found him. This is an obituary. So
Scientists.
hold on. No, he's not a scientist. That's the issue.
It took science
So-
to do it, bro.
He has a BS in mechanical engineering. I knew it. I knew he was an engineer. He doesn't
And
have.
who
He
do you
doesn't have a
think-
science. He doesn't have a science degree.
No, there's no there. So you're going to tell me there's no science in engineering? Are you going to say that?
Science and engineering
Are
are
you-
separate things, right?
You're going to say there's no science in engineering? Yes
Science
or no?
and engineering are separate things.
Is there science in engineering? Yes or no?
Science is not a thing that can be in things. I don't know
You're
what you mean by that.
anti-science, then you are the anti-science because science
Okay,
is
so an
part of
engineer
engineering.
developed a Tomahawk missile. To be
It
clear,
takes science to engineer, man. Did you go to college, dude?
I did. David,
Okay.
thank you for being
What
here.
college?
Sorry, I can only he's been screaming so much. Like, I tolerated the over talking a lot, but it was just wearing on my nerves. Oh, I didn't read super chats. I'll read them after this guest, I guess. All American Prepper, how's it going? All American Prepper, how's it going? Oh, we have some
Oh shit!
echo. Ooh, echo.
Yeah. Let me
Can you
fix
fix that, please? I'm gonna mute you for a bit. I'm gonna read some super chats while you're fixing that, and then I'll ask you to unmute when I'm done. Okay? I don't think that there's that many. From Sean Hawkins with the $5. If Trump said that human feces is a tasty treat, emergency rooms would be packed with red hats within 48 hours. That's unfortunately probably not that false. From Wow with the $2, amateur geologist. I freaking love rocks. I love rocks too. From Kieran Dave with the $5, MAGA caller confuses engineering and science and then says there is an Iranian army in San Francisco that Blitz can't see. Just another day on TikTok. Yeah, that was crazy. From Kieran Dave again with the $2, the collective Davids of the world disavowed David. Yeah, I'm sorry. For all you Davids out there, I'm sorry. From Eat Some Shorts with the $5, if they were wearing camo, then how could he see them? True. You got to be smart. From Kieran again with the $5. For what it's worth, this guy is regurgitating the current rhetoric from InfoWars. Oh, that's good to know. From Eat Some Shorts again with the $5. Won't trust doctors, but blindly give themselves to medieval fairy tale characters. Isn't that a bummer? From Jack Fetter with the $5. We are so doomed, our empire is in serious decline, taken out by a fat orange grifter with a 50-word vocabulary. Yep, this is the end of the American empire. Such is the way of things. From Jack Fetter with the $2, and there it is, Florida for the win. Florida is not sending its best. Jack again with the $5. Motorcycle helmets are not required in Florida. Ask him if he wears one. That would have been a good idea. And from Eat Some Shorts with the $2, doxing yourself for science. Let's go. From Eustace with the $2, I declare war on deja vu. Oh, if only it were that easy. We only have a few more left, y'all. From Ekipo with the €6, David probably killed a few people not wearing a mask and riding around in his neighborhood on his motorcycle. I hope not. I really hope not. And from Tim with the $2, W after W after W for Blitz. Well, thank you so much, Tim. All right, All American Prepper, welcome. How's it going?
Going all right.
Do you mind if I ask you just a few questions? They're just like yes or no. Like you can say yes, no, unsure, just so because I'm collecting information. And I'm curious if, is that okay?
Yeah.
So one, would you call yourself MAGA?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think that, A, do you think that climate change is happening? And B, do you think that humans are the main cause of that climate change, if you think it's happening?
Climate change is happening, but humans are part of it, but not most of it.
Okay. Do you think that the vaccines that we typically administer to children, think of like, you know, the MMR vaccine and these things, do you think that those vaccines are typically safe and effective?
Typically, but I'm not getting any of my kids vaccinated.
So is that a no?
No, I believe it's a personal choice. You know, typically, yeah, sure, go right ahead, vaccinate your kid. I don't care. It's not my problem.
Do you think that they're generally safe and effective? That's the question.
Yeah, I'm just not giving them my kids because I'm not aware of what all's in them.
So do you think that they're not? So you're unsure if they're safe and effective?
Yeah, unsure.
Okay. And do you think that
that nanotechnology that they put in the vax really made me paranoid?
Yep. And do you think that humans are evolved from non-human ancestors?
Actually, yes.
Okay. And what part of the country do you live in, All American Prepper?
South. I live in South Alabama.
Okay. And would you say that you ever took somebody out from a mile away?
No.
Okay. David, is this you?
It was 1.25 miles.
All right, David, get out of here.
Science.
He did give different answers from David, right? Which is interesting. But not useful. He couldn't keep it to himself. That's fine. All right, let's talk to Nick Starr. All right, let's talk to Tony. Tony, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing A-okay, Tony. Tony, do you mind if I ask you a few questions before we get started?
Sure.
Simple yes, no. I'm just like, I'm actually just interested in what the people I talk to believe generally, so I'm just constructing polling data. Right, so would you consider yourself MAGA?
More sympathetic. Yeah, I'd say yeah.
Okay. Would you, do you think that humans are the main cause of climate change? And if not, do you think that climate change is real at all?
Climate change is real, right? Climate change is real. Mm-hmm. And in this period of time, humans are the main culprit.
Okay. Do you think that the vaccines that we typically administer to young children are generally safe and effective?
That's my typical belief, but I do not know for sure. But that is typically what I believe.
Okay. And do you think that humans evolved from non-human ancestors?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So Tony, I guess you've been here for a bit. My claim is that the evidence points towards MAGA policymakers and MAGA voters being, at best, ambivalent towards science and, at worst, actively harmful to science. What's your view on that?
I mean, I completely disagree, because the point of science is to do stuff with it, to create it. It's just not research. The heart of science is you do something with it. Well, what is the point of science, though? I mean, like why? Because everything we do, there is a reason why we do it. So why?
I take
why
science
do we explore
to be. I take science to be useful, perhaps, insofar as it expands our knowledge of the world that we live in and expands our knowledge of ourselves. And I think that's valuable.
But to what end?
I think knowledge is valuable on its own. I don't think that it needs to require technology in order to be valuable.
So, for example, if like the point of science, I believe, is that we have a reason to want to know like what's around us, so that we can develop something, so we can improve our lives, so that we can, build shelter, et cetera, et cetera. This stuff exists to an end, right?
Do you think
there's a reason why?
Do you think that
and I believe that's the heart of it, right? This is actually why a lot of research. This is why I believe.
Why do you think Darwin got on the Beagle to go study, to go to the Galapagos Islands?
I don't know.
I mean, it definitely wasn't to like produce some sort of whatever. He was just interested in animals, right?
Yeah, I mean, it may start as curiosity. It may start as curiosity, but there is an end to it, right? To understand
so why does there have to be?
Why does it have to be?
Yeah.
Well, it's the best way to understand why we're here, what we're doing this for, what we could do with this information. Like, we just don't get information for the sake of information. We might as well just make it up.
Can you explain to me what the purpose of developing the James Webb Space Telescope was? To what end?
To what end? To understand what's out there. To maybe we'll be able to but that's where it starts. That's where it starts, right? So the point of science is to discover our entire universe and to see what can emerge from it and what we could do with our surroundings. You might as well.
Tony, are you a scientist?
I'm not a scientist.
So, I mean, look, there are a lot of applied physicists and engineers and pharmaceutical biologists who their goal of what they do is to try to build new things. And that's cool, that's valuable, but that is not the core reason for doing science, right?
But that's the core reason.
It's just historically not.
No, I mean, that's the reason why we are curious and want to discover. I mean, in the same way that why Christopher Columbus.
That's an interesting question.
Well, for example, in the same way, let's just say that we remove science and say we're just discovering new territory, where Christopher Columbus would just sail over to the sea. There is some kind of end to it, right? He's just curious. It starts off the curiosity. What's out there? Is this actually a shortcut to India, right? We discover and we add to the tree of knowledge in order to do something with it.
Not always.
That's basically the adding to the collective consciousness, so that we could actually improve our lives or move humanity forward in some direction.
I mean,
that's the end goal of science.
So moving humanity forward can include just increasing our knowledge of the world. It doesn't have to have any technological or sociological impact beyond that.
That's what makes it valuable, though.
I don't think that that's the case. But I mean, look, whether or not you think that that's the case, it is the reality that a lot of the science that we do is basic research, meaning it's not oriented towards a goal of developing some technology or whatever. It's just the case that that's a lot of the research that we do. So, and it seems like the MAGA ideology, the MAGA movement, is not particularly interested in funding any of it, including the stuff that would benefit us. Are you saying that? So if I could take your premise on that, then therefore we should take away any premise. And if you talk about of how science is applied, we should take all that out of your argument. What? I didn't follow any of that.
So if the point of science is to not develop something that helps humanity, and say that you're going to point to the vaccines, which was an emergent thing that came out of science, we should take that out of the argument, correct? If we don't want to talk about
Look,
what came out of science,
I'm not arguing saying, oh, the vaccine was so good, you should be pro-science.
no, I'm
That's
not.
not my
I'm just using that
argument.
as an example. I'm just using that as an example.
I don't. None of my arguments are that way.
Okay, so
I'm
you can
looking at-
agree
I'm
that
looking at
anything that
trust in
emerged,
scientific institutions and
Right.
the desire to fund and to maintain
Okay.
scientific research
but
programs.
we can. Okay, so in other words, we can start. We're allowed to argue about what is promoted in an administration as an emergence of science, which is engineering, or maybe anything with regards to health, like vaccines or anything else like that. Correct? Like if we can point
you
to
can argue
vaccines,
whatever you want, it just might not be relevant.
I know, but if we can argue, but if we can point to vaccines as a benefit of science, then therefore we should be able to point to, say, AI.
When
you know,
did I
funding
argue that
towards
vaccines
AI.
were a benefit of science?
You don't think that it is?
I mean, sure, but it's not part of my argument.
Okay. Okay. So, but
It's just
but
not. I
people
just don't make
deny.
that
I know.
argument.
Okay, but like the argument that I would. Okay, it may not be your argument, or maybe I'm going to throw this out there. Maybe I'll throw this out there to actually clarify your argument or where your position is. And I kind of heard a little bit of what you spoke to the other guy. Actually, you guys spoke about a lot of things, so it was actually pretty hard to understand. But like,
I agree.
yeah, and I actually didn't know what yeah. But like, for example, one of the things of MAGA saying there's anti-science is their disbelief or distrust of the vaccine. Correct? Like, is that a thing that you would point to?
No, I would
Or-
point to the distrust towards medical researchers.
The distrust towards medical researchers, but how do you know that it's just not a culture of distrust towards institutions, period?
Oh, it may very well be, but it's being particularly directed at scientific institutions. And there are also private scientific institutions like Harvard. Harvard is famously a private school that has been attacked by MAGA, by the right in general,
Why do you think
despite
that
being
is?
a private institution.
Yeah,
Oh,
but it is
because they
institution.
don't align ideologically with Trump.
They don't align ideologically with Trump. It's just a cultural thing. Like it's just
Yeah,
it's
so
because
right now-
it's a
right
tribal
now-
issue. It's a tribal thing, right? It's
agree.
not
Right now-
anti-science. It's basically based on tribalism.
To be clear, right now, the tribal position of MAGA specifically and the right wing more generally is an anti-science position. Like that is like one of the
It's an
calling
anti-institution
cards.
position.
No, it's not just anti-institutions, because there are plenty of institutions that the right has no trouble with. Like for example, the DoD. For
Right.
example, anything that Trump has his hands directly in, they're happy with. This is like there's a specific tribal issue, and you're right, it is tribal, that is specifically directed at centers of higher learning and research scientists. And other things as well, but specifically those things have been targeted significantly.
Yeah. And do you believe? And where do you think that's coming from?
Who knows? I could
Come
speculate,
on.
but
I mean, you make hypotheses all the time with what you do. What do you think your hypothesis is?
I think it's a really long trend. I honestly couldn't tell you what the main driving effect is. Like, there's obviously a trend away from higher education.
Why is that?
Probably because of cost, is my guess, and because of the liberal nature of, or the tendency for people to come out of higher institutions more liberal than they went in, institutions of higher learning. And so it seems so it's possible that the reason why there's been such a backlash against institutions of higher learning and the sciences which come out of them is a result of right-leaning people and MAGA thinking that these institutions are ideologically driven or are, creating the enemy. And so if you want to shut that down, then you shut down the funding that goes to them. You make them the enemy, if you will. So that could be a cause. There also could just be a cause of the general failure of our education system, K through 12. No Child Left Behind was really, really bad. And so, with a less educated populace, people are more susceptible to conspiracy thinking, are more susceptible to going with their gut rather than actually investigating things, rationally. And that can absolutely lead to conspiracies. That can absolutely lead to distrust in people who are educated. So I don't know. There's a lot of possible factors.
I think the first factor that you hit on is probably the biggest motivator, if I were to guess. And it's actually really hard to say because it is muddied, right? Because the fact of the matter is that I believe that what is happening right now, and what's always been happening, is that people would take a side based on what their tribe or what their side decides to stick with, right? I mean, right now, like, let's take like the most recent example right now. It's not related to science, but it's with this fraud in like Minnesota. You're already seeing people, especially on the left, like hunkering down like crazy because it makes their side look bad. That's like an unreasonable thing to do, right? And I think this is also happening, unfortunately, kind of on the side of science, but also what's also looped in there is this question of like, are we spending our money correctly? And also on top of that, kind of leveraging the whole like, let's not trust institutions like instantly or quickly. Like that's like it's an easy buy-in when what you're saying is that these. But it's a natural buy-in too, because what it is that you have a culture of that's anti-institution, that tends to be pretty anti-institution, especially if you're like libertarian leaning, and then you have religious leaning for parts that are science, and then also on top of that, when you're finding out or when you're realizing that educational institutions are ideologically captured, and not only that, you have this news cabal that seem to be left-leaning. So you have like story after story after story, institution after institution after institution cooperating with each other. Of course, there's going to be a major distrust. Look, and so obviously it runs wild.
If it were a result of liberal institutions, and like it is just a fact that like institutions of higher learning tend to be more left-leaning, like they tend to produce more left-leaning people. We could talk about why that is, but that is just a fact. But if that were like the main case, then like why would it be the case that NASA is getting defunded? That like NASA's science budget is being cut in half? Why would it be the case that like
they are investing into from what I understand,
the science funding is being cut in half, right?
No, they're actually funding the Artemis program quite a bit.
Do you want me to show you the fiscal year 2026 budget request from NASA?
I mean, sure, but I know that the focus is on the Artemis program. I know there's quite a bit, and I think it's also wait 1 second. Also, cutting budget is not correlated with the fact that it's not efficient. Like the fact of the matter is like space costs have gone down quite a bit.
We're not talking about space right now. We're talking about research.
You're talking about, well, okay, this is where my argument comes into play, which is like,
hold on. I'm going to show you this and then we can talk about it once the data is available.
Once you bring that out.
So here's the NASA, this is the NASA, this comes directly from NASA. And so we have the NASA budget from 2024, 2025, and 2026, right? And it's divided up into various segments. So the exploration budget, this is the Artemis program. This is attempts to go to Mars. That actually is proposed to go up for 2026 as part of Trump's budget proposal. If you look at the science budget, however, down here, every single one of these is cut in half or more, with the exception of planetary science. Planetary science is only reduced by like 34%. But these are all like slashed, and this is horrible for scientific research. So if this was just institutions, distrust in institutions, why would they be cutting the science budget of NASA?
Well, we're talking about two different things. We're talking about the culture of MAGA, which is what you're talking about. We're also talking about administrative things that go invisible to the public. And typically people, and I'm not going to speak on why they did it. I haven't read the declaration, so like you're asking me to answer a question that I have no participation in. But one thing I can bring up, or I will bring up, or at least worth pondering, is that if they're increasing funding in Artemis, you're pretty much, this is what I'm going to glean, but I have no idea. So like you're asking the wrong guy here who wasn't part of the budgeting. You could take from, what's the term? Take from so-and-so and give it to so-and-so, right? You're taking money from, you're slashing a bit here so that you can fund this. You're slashing X so that you could fund Y, right? I don't know that that's the motivation. But the fact of the matter is that if the end is to actually go to the moon, and when there are a lot of industries and a lot of conversations about what the future would look like, having like being spacefaring, having a moon economy, being able to have like quantum computers there because there's a better environment for it, it makes more sense in order to actually shift priorities of there, at least in the short term.
So that would be
like
really
if it's
compelling,
splashed all across, you might have an argument, but that isn't the
unfortunately
case.
it's unfortunately it goes the other way. So you might have an argument if the amount if all that happened was the NASA budget was just kind of rearranged, like shifted to focus more on exploration than it is on the sciences. But the total NASA budget actually is, again, proposed because people are still fighting about budgets in Congress. But the proposed budget request from the Trump administration just cuts NASA's funding by $6 billion a year. Now, the exploration funding goes up by about $700 million, but the science funding decreases by something like $3.4 billion. The space operations decreases by $1.1 billion. The aeronautics operations decreases by $500 million. The STEM engagement completely dismantled, and safety, security, and mission services goes down by $1 billion. So it's not just shuffling money around to refocus. Secondly,
but you're also making the argument they're all equally important.
Secondly, the funding for the exploration sector, that's where the funding goes if it's going to be redirected to Elon Musk.
Sorry,
so
what did you say?
That's where the funding goes. It's in that budget item, exploration rather than space operations or science.
Right.
That's where the funding goes if you're hiring Elon Musk as a subcontractor, or SpaceX rather.
I mean, don't they already do that?
So they're increasing the funding for the part of the budget that goes to SpaceX,
which is to do what? Which is to do what?
I mean, to build
crappy
rockets.
To what end, though? Crappy rockets? Who else has better rockets?
Well, I mean, the Saturn V was more impressive than anything Elon Musk has built.
Yeah, but how much more expensive was that?
So it was more expensive, but it wouldn't take 11 rockets to get to the moon.
Would it be able to land on its own?
No, absolutely
okay,
not.
So by what measure are you talking about?
That it'll take 11 Elon Musk rockets to get to the moon.
That 11 Elon Musk rockets to get to the moon?
Yeah.
Are we talking about Starship, or are we talking about the current iteration that only goes to lower?
The current plan for Artemis is going to take 11 rockets.
I'm pretty sure. Well, I'm pretty sure a lot of it is testing, and they're looking for Starship.
No, 11. It's 11 rockets to launch stuff to and from low Earth orbit because.
And what was it for?
It's to build the launch platform to get to the moon. It's not a platform, but to build.
Okay, so we're talking about a different environment.
No, we're not. This is like to bring up the fuel for the ship that needs to get to the moon, to bring up the parts for the ship that needs to get to the moon, and then they're going to combine it all in space.
The filling and stuff.
Yeah, all of that stuff. Because the rockets that Elon Musk, well, apparently not. Of course it will be, probably. The rockets that Elon Musk's use just don't have the carrying capacity of like the Saturn V, for example.
I mean, that's not what I'm reading from other articles.
I mean, you can go look at what is it? I think Artemis is currently using the Falcon 9 or the Falcon Heavy.
The Falcon 9 is not the same thing as Starship.
I know they're not the same thing. I think the Artemis project is intended to be using the Falcon Heavy or the Falcon 9.
How much?
Yes, the Artemis project use. Okay, so it uses the Falcon Heavy for launching elements of the Gateway Lunar Outpost. So it's the Falcon Heavy.
Okay.
And they just can't do as much as the Apollo as was done in the Apollo mission, for example. Yeah, the Saturn V, which was the Apollo mission.
Let's find out.
But I mean, like the Saturn V was like the largest rocket ever built.
Right. So Saturn V is about 111 metric tons, whereas Starship
doesn't work. It's not functional yet. The Artemis project is not using. The Artemis project is using the Falcon Heavy.
Yeah, but they're working on getting that up. Like the Falcon Heavy is different than the Saturn V. The Falcon Heavy has a different use than the Saturn V.
Which is to say,
but it's still cheaper ultimately, though. I mean, but anyway, the fact of the matter is that like, it's just, but the fact of the matter is that like you keep on dodging the question, like to what end? Like every time we do anything in Explore Science, there's an end to it, and I think that if budget tends to be scarce, but if budget tends to be scarce, it's important to prioritize. Correct? Like you're assuming that all things are equal.
You're right. I would agree. If budget tends to be scarce, if we were worried about reducing our budget expenditures, right? Then I would agree. Cuts across the board would make sense. But we're not doing that. Trump's 2026 budget
you don't do cuts across the board. Wait 1 second. Like it's not about that. There are things that you prioritize or not. Sometimes like there are things that are more important that you actually have to increase in, and you have to like decrease in other areas.
Can I show you something?
Like, wait, hold on a second. Have you ever actually managed a budget before? Like, do you think that in order to like save money, you just cut across?
I mean, my own budget.
Oh, okay. So you've never actually managed a budget.
No. Well, can I show you something?
Okay. Well, let me tell you something. So when you do manage a budget, like a large budget for a company or anything else like that, you don't cut across the board, right? And sometimes
you increase expenditure by, I don't know.
That's what I would disagree with.
Like that was entirely chunks.
Sure, that's entirely disagree with. But
here's a pretty good summary of the proposed budget changes for the research and development sectors of various organizations in the US government, right? And so this is 2025 compared with 2026. So basically every single three-letter agency had their research funding cut. With a few exceptions, the Department of Veterans Affairs had their research funding cut or increased by $25 million. Department of Homeland Security increased by $37 million. And the Department of Defense had their research and development funding increased by $21 billion. Everything else got cut.
Right.
It doesn't seem like that they're interested in like reducing the budget. It doesn't seem like they're interested in like, you know, handling these things.
You do
like
know
being
that
fiscally responsible here.
Right, but you do know that depending on the times, you put more priority on one area versus the other.
Do we need to be spending more in the DoD right now? In DoD R&D?
I mean that's way beyond my pay grade. I don't know what's happening existentially in terms of a threat. I know China's a looming threat. I know there's this threat that's happening in Taiwan. There's this whole conversation in Ukraine. What the hell's happening, like Iran? There's a lot of conversations happening behind the scene. Like I think a lot of people would prefer that to be in decrease. But the thing is that when you do budget cuts, looking at just cut across the board doesn't say anything. It doesn't necessarily say that it's even anti-science, even if it's still, especially when it's still funded.
But here's
it just
the weird
means
thing.
that there could be a shift of priority right
here's
now.
The weird thing.
Right?
They're cutting specifically every single scientific organization that we have.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There can be a priority.
Okay,
but can it not be a priority of, say, for example, national interests at this period of time, especially if it's still funded?
At best, what you're telling me is that the Trump administration does not think science is an important priority.
No, it doesn't.
That's the best case scenario.
No. Now, listen to me. Let me make it clear. It's still being funded, correct? It's not getting rid of, correct?
So I can give you examples of things that they explicitly got rid of.
But the vast majority of them. Wait. Before you get to that example, the vast majority of them are still funded, correct?
It's not just one example, by the way.
Okay. The vast majority of them are still funded.
Of organizations, well, he can't legally cut organizations,
okay,
right? Like that's illegal.
Right.
But what he can do is that he can just propose a negligible budget that would basically not let them operate.
Okay, but the vast majority of them are funded, correct?
Yes, sure. However, look, hold on. That's not the argument that you want it to be.
Can you make it so that
Tony? No, I'm sorry. I'm gonna respond to what you said.
Okay.
Right.
Sure.
So if I said, let's say that I'm president, right? And I cut funding to historically black colleges and universities by 50%. And I keep funding for universities that aren't like that, the same where I increase them. If somebody then accused me of being racist or of not liking black people, I couldn't then go and say, oh, but I didn't shut them down. I only cut their funding by half. Like, it's just a non-argument, right?
But that's the wrong comparison. Because what you're doing
it's an identical comparison, by the way.
No, it's not, because the only differentiator is skin color. In this case, defense and certain parts of science are completely different categories altogether. And even within science, they're also not all equal either.
The point is that if I'm specifically targeting, it's a great analogy.
It's not even the same.
It's a great analogy
it's a terrible analogy.
I'm specifically targeting a particular sector for cuts and not targeting other sectors for similar cuts, or I'm even increasing the funding of different sectors, then that means that I'm particularly targeting those sectors for cuts for a reason. And the only thing they all have in common is that they are scientific sectors. They're scientific institutions, right?
There are plenty of institutions.
It's the only thing they all have in common.
But there are plenty of institutions that have been cut, like a lot, right? Outside of just like science.
Yeah, and you're right. The Department of Education as well.
The Department of Education is one of them. I mean, like reading scores have gone down.
That's not related. Surely that's not related to
science. We do see our reading scores go down. So I mean, I can't surely there's nothing going on there that can't be questioned.
By the way,
right?
I was going to give you examples. So there is there's a.
But don't you believe that this distrust in institutions, is if you steal them on the other side, is valid? Like, especially there might have been another a time a long time ago when it felt like you could trust these institutions, but I think over time it feels like there's a lot of bloat, there's a lot of nepotism, there's a lot of shady business going on, and And I do think that...
Are you suggesting that Trump is trying to cut down on nepotism and shady business dealings?
No, that wasn't the question. The question was that don't you believe, and it's not, I know you're shifting to parts of there, but don't you believe the questioning of institutions, this culture of questioning institutions, and feeling that institutions
and so look, I'm sympathetic to the I'm sympathetic to the libertarian point of view. That's just not what most MAGA is. Most MAGA is not small government. I've talked to them. They say, yeah, I'm not small government. I'm not a libertarian. Like it's just not the case.
I mean, I don't. Who are you pulling here? I mean, the people in your panel.
The people I've spoken with on here, the people in real life. I used to do this live stream. Okay. Once or twice a week.
Well, I don't know. We hang around two different circles, so like, I mean, there's a lot of.
So you said that they're not shutting them down. What about this?
But the thing is that if they were only shutting down science, and I'm sure they're all to a different degree. Like even that chart. Like the cuts that are happening to a different degree, right? That does that not tell you that it's
between 30 and 50% for like all of the large organizations.
But is there not? But does that not show that because there's a varying degree of cuts in every single department, that there is a level of hierarchy and importance as opposed to just like a site-wide cut? Doesn't that say something like that?
I mean, sure. For example, NASA is going to be cut less than the NSF because NASA can be used to funnel money to SpaceX, right?
But to what end? Like you just thought, like this is what I hear from the leftists. Like
at least at the time, Elon Musk was an ally.
But to what end? He's funneling to what end? Why? Because it's the cheapest transport there is.
No,
it's the best transport there is.
He did it because at the time, Elon Musk was an ally. He was a friend of the administration.
But even if we were to take that out, is his space product not the best currently we have right now?
For getting small objects to low Earth orbit? Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Anything related to rockets?
No, not anything related to rockets.
Right now, that's active. Can we get a more superior rocket that's ready to go right now that's cheaper?
But cheaper doesn't mean that it's the best product.
Cheaper, like value. Per dollar,
if you want to get something cheaper, doesn't mean better, right?
The point of these rockets is to bring mass to space, and how that's calculated is the dollar per mass that you can bring in space. That's what qualifies.
That's not the only thing that makes it better.
That is the major thing. That matters, especially with space exploration.
That's cost. That's not the only thing that makes it. That's not the only thing that makes it better. Like products can be better in different ways.
Engineering feat, and how that's calculated is dollar per mass you get in space. Otherwise, it's inefficient.
That's not how you can tell what's good engineering or not. To be clear, that's not the only measure of success for a rocket. For example, if you have a very efficient rocket, but you have to launch 100 of them to achieve the same thing that one rocket can achieve, then you might actually prefer the one rocket, even if it's more expensive per mass, because it doesn't take up as much time to do.
Look, I don't even know that argument's real, but let's just say if that one argument is 10 times more expensive than the 100 rockets. Like this just becomes a situation, let's just throw money at the problem. Let's just constantly throw money at the problem as opposed
to be clear, are you saying that time is not worth anything?
Time is worth a lot.
Okay, so launching 100 rockets would take up way more time than
launching one rocket. I don't think
it's
launching 100. Anyways,
I'm giving an example.
This is a conversation I think we're both unqualified to speak about.
Here's an example of Trump shutting down a particular satellite that is used to do scientific research. It's just no longer funded. Completely shut down.
What was the reason for it? I mean, satellites get burned up all the time. Yeah, but satellites get burned up all the time.
This was still an operation. This was not something like, oh, it was end of life. It was still an operation. It's just his proposed budget is just like, no, we're just not funding it anymore. We're just shutting it down.
Okay, but what were they prioritizing instead? Like, was it helpful
they just say the missions were beyond their prime mission, and it was being terminated to align with the president's agenda and budget priorities. You know why it was being terminated? Because the data that it produces is often used in climate science research.
Was that why it was cited?
I mean, to align with the president's agenda? I don't know, man.
But he also funded the DoD. I mean, that's the agenda as well. Right, you can cut one and assume that.
Right. So why would he cut? So use your thinker. Why would he, a guy who said that climate change was a hoax, cut a satellite whose data is used to produce climate science research?
Yeah, the answer is simple, because he thinks it's not an imminent threat like national security. Like, isn't that obvious? Like,
so he's
whether
cutting,
you
right.
agree,
So to be clear, he's shutting down an avenue of research. You agree with that, right?
No, I do not believe that's the case.
Okay, well, he proposed to literally shut down this satellite, which is critical for monitoring CO2 levels on Earth, right?
Yeah, but there's a cost to keep it up. Like, it's not like he's doing
not
it
very much.
How much is not very much?
On the order of millions of dollars.
Don't you think it's actually cheaper to actually, like, if it's not costing anything?
It's on the order of millions of dollars, by the way.
I mean, don't you think it's cheaper just to let it up than to just like wouldn't the more economic thing to do is to kind of take a look? Hey, it's probably going to be more like less expensive to just do X versus Y because we're shifting priority towards defense. And whether you agree about that or not,
but look, you said that he wasn't cutting stuff. I gave you an example of something that he's cutting.
No, I'm saying he's not shutting down. He's not shutting down
shut down.
most. No, he's shutting down one silence. He's not shutting down.
There's a lot more examples I can give you if you want.
But he's not shutting down climate research. It's a satellite.
Well, here's another
That's
example
like somebody
of
who's
something
saying
that he's
like
doing.
you don't get a car, therefore I'm like
Trump administration to dissolve key climate research agency.
Do you listen? Do you think that if, for example, like
he's shutting down key climate research agency.
This
is exactly what you said that he's not doing.
Let's just say that they had an SUV and Trump decided to say you're not having an SUV and he's shutting down all of climate research. Like it is.
So this is it. Right? So by the way, this thing that's happening. This is fairly recent. It was about a month ago. Is exactly what you said he's not doing.
Administration dissolves key climate research agency. Okay, what's the key climate research agency?
It's called the Center for Atmospheric Research in Boulder, or National Center for Atmospheric Research.
Is he looking to consolidate that? Okay, is he looking to consolidate? He's done that before, where he's consolidated like departments. Is he doing it for that reason?
So what he has said that he's going to do is he's going to take some weather monitoring stuff that was done there and moving it elsewhere, and then the rest of it is just being shut down.
But this has happened in many administrations where they consolidate.
Then the rest is just being shut down. So he's taking us all of the climate research. Weather is not climate.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, like, this is also like, what article is this from?
This is from Reuters.
The Reuters. Okay. Well, let's look for another source. I mean, like,
this was like everywhere, by the way, when this was announced. I can go find it for you if you want, but you can just look up the National Center for Atmospheric Research. This was news in December.
Atmospheric Research. And I'm not
on PBS. On Colorado Public Radio, The Guardian, The New York Times, Highlands Current, which is just, I think, a local thing, USA Today, Science.org. Here's another one from Science.org. White House Budget Director calls.
Wait. Let's look at the reasonings. The reasoning of the OMB director, Russell Vaughn, characterized the facility as a source of climate alarmism.
Yep.
So it's a political motivation there.
Yeah, they're politically motivated to shut down this research center.
Yeah, well, why is that? I mean, it's politically motivated. It's nothing to do with science. It's not science motivated. It's politically motivated. I mean, that's not new.
They're motivated.
But we already established that in the beginning.
The politics is motivated by being anti-science.
Okay, so the plan. Right. No, the plan. Here it is. The plan the administration intends is to move all vital activities, such as basic weather forecasting research,
right. Nothing to do with climate. Right. They're shutting down the climate research.
Budget cuts. So what agency is this? The
NCAR.
NCAR, closure of NCAR. Okay. So he's looking to move that over there. Well, let's just say,
the weather stuff, not the climate stuff. He's shutting down the climate stuff, right?
Right. Is there still research on climate? Was this, is this a government agency or what is this?
The NCAR is a national research center.
Okay, so it's government funded?
So it's government funded.
Is government funded as in it's owned privately or owned by the government?
No, it's owned by the government.
Okay. Climate owned research. Let's see if there's federal government is currently dismantling the internal. Okay, it is shifting towards state governments, private corporations, and international institutions.
So you know what that means? Yeah. It means that it's shifting away from being U.S. federal government.
Yeah, it's moving away from federal.
So are you seeing an increase in? So to be clear, like suppose that this happens. This was proposed. It hasn't happened yet because the budget is still being argued about, right? This should be settled by the end of January. Oh, he teacupped. So if this happens...
Sorry, I'm here.
No, you're fine. If this happens, there is no stipulation that, oh, we're going to redirect funding to state level organizations so they can continue this research. It will be the burden of private organizations and state level actors to pick up this research, on their own dime, essentially, if they want that research to continue. This is not saying, oh, we're just shifting things around to state level or private. What's happening is we're shutting it down. If you want to keep doing it, you can pay for it.
Yeah,
that's what's happening here.
Right, but it's because Trump administration believes that the Department of Defense at this moment of time is more urgent than climate research. Does that not as straightforward as that? And whether you agree with it or not, that's really what it is.
So even if that's the case, it's still anti-science.
No,
and to be clear, the Vought, who was the head of the White House Office of Management and Budget, did not say it was because we need to shift our budget to defense. They were blaming climate alarmism for shutting it down.
If you're against anti-science, you're against discovery, correct? And you're against the usefulness.
I don't know what it means to be against anti-science.
Well, basically,
do you mean if you are anti-science?
Well, I mean, the term is so broad here, like anti-science.
In other words, anti-science means that they're not in
the method, the scientific method, the discovery, the curiosity, basically any type of.
So whatever activity led to the United States' dominance in science globally for the last 70 or 60 years.
Yeah.
Well, I'm talking specifically about science. Engineering is a whole separate story. What led to the United States' dominance in science in the last 60 years? He's against that.
How do you know that? What are you talking about? How do you know he's against that?
The reason why the U.S. has been so dominant in science...
There was no climate change thing back then. I don't know what you're talking about.
The reason why the U.S. has been so dominant in science is because we have funded scientific research heavily. We have invested so much money in science. And we have funded and invested in our higher education system.
I think that's absolutely important. I believe that's absolutely important.
And he is not interested in those things. He is attacking universities. He is defunding government organizations that produce much of the grants that are required in order to do research. He's not interested in those things. These things are being cut for ideological reasons. That's what anti-science is.
Part of it is ideological, but a big part of it is also prioritization.
Literally, Vought said here that it's ideological.
Who's Vought?
He was the guy that was in charge. He was the guy who announced
that's what he said.
the
Yeah,
thing.
For sure.
Yeah.
But that's ideological. But if we're talking about anti-science in general,
anti-science is not just like a reason. It's an action. It's a behavior, right?
Yeah, but like you're talking about specifically again, like his skepticism towards the focus on climate change, funding focus on climate change to go towards DoD. Therefore, he's against all of the science. Not only him, anything MAGA related is against all. Yeah, but for example, like just because there's a shift of priority at this time. Is not a smoking gun. It is a shift.
You wouldn't accept any evidence. By the way, there's also like loads of evidence that MAGA voters in general trust scientists less than everybody else.
But hold on a second. My explanation is perfectly reasonable. It shows like
a shift in priorities is a shift in priorities away from science.
Yeah, right? Because of the current climate. That doesn't mean it's permanent. Like you do change budgets every single year, and right now.
These are the largest budget changes.
Believe or not.
These are the largest budget changes since like with regards to NASA, for example, since like the 50s, I think.
Okay, but just because
this is not an everyday thing.
But deprioritizing science research at this moment of time is not a smoking gun of just being anti-science.
This isn't just deprioritizing, right? Deprioritizing would be like a small reduction of the budget. That's not what's happening.
No. It can very well. You could reactivate any of this anytime. Like this is like huge sweeping cuts.
No,
and the fact
by the way, no, you cannot reactivate this anytime. For example, that satellite I showed you, it is now going to burn up in the atmosphere because Trump is if it goes through.
Satellite again.
Well, I mean, like, look, you said that this stuff can be reactivated. No, it can't. Like when you shut down grants, for example, that means that the people who would have been working on those grants at universities, they lose their jobs, which means that they have to go do something else. And so, no, you don't have those scientists that are available to just take the money if you want to start it back up again. This is long-term destructive, not just short-term.
There is an argument about losing momentum, and I agree that can be the case. But his view and his administration and the view of people who voted for him in is that here are the priorities we want right now. And I think for a lot of people, even people on the other side, this was not in their bingo list. There are other things they were more concerned about. So all he's doing is executing what the voters asked him to do. And that can be that shift.
The
of
voters
priority.
didn't ask him to fund the DoD more, by the way. He was supposed to be the president of peace.
Yeah, anti-war, but he's also
But he's funding the DoD more.
But he's also been putting a platform of being pretty hostile towards China. I mean, he's like made it pretty clear.
And whose fault is that?
What do you mean, whose fault?
Whose
is that?
fault
Why
is it that
anti-China?
well? So look.
I mean, this rivalry's been going on for a long time.
He can't be both anti-war and increase the budget for the DoD.
I mean, there's
you can't
deterrence.
say that both two.
No, but that's what deterrence is. Like that, like you build it up so that you don't go to war.
Is that what you think's happening here? You don't think that any of it has to do with ulterior motives?
I don't know the line item. In my opinion, I actually think it should be cut and they should look for more efficient means, personally. But I have no idea what the line items are. I completely disagree. However, because I'm not part of the budgetary thing, principally, I don't think that should have happened. I don't think there should be an increase. But I do think there should be an upgrade. I do think there should be investments toward deterrence so that everybody within the boundaries of America can be safe to explore and do science and everything else like that. But it just seems right now we're moving towards a multipolar
Wait a
world.
minute. Hold on.
You have to have safety. You have to establish safety first.
To
you
be
have to
clear,
establish safety
why,
first, right?
if this was a matter of safety, why would he change the Department of Defense to the Department of War?
Because it's a cool name. I don't know.
Doesn't sound like it's about just keeping us safe.
I mean, he also like changed the Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America. I mean, like there's just the random shit like that. Like I don't know. Like I think everybody, like every single American can see that this world is turning to multipolar. Like right now, America is not going to maintain looking like it's not going to maintain its superpower lead. And if this is going to be a multipolar world, there is a need for it to be. What's that?
Whose fault is that?
No.
Why is that happening?
Why is that happening? It's not. It's just the natural order of things. Just seems to be the case. Like certain empires rose. America's barely an empire, and some of them fall. It's just China was basically like superpower for many years, and it fell. It's just the way it is. But I can't. It's multifactorial. I don't know how to answer that.
So look, you said it was about institutions, but it's not just about institutions. If you go take polling data of people who call themselves MAGA or of conservatives in general, you'll find that they're less likely to trust individual scientists than Democrats or left-leaning people. Why is that?
What science and what? Like climate change?
Just scientists in general. I can show you the poll.
Sure. What's the poll? I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like, do you agree? Do you believe in a scientist? No, I don't know. It feels kind of
I'm pulling it up.
weird. And I'm sure COVID had something to do with it.
But like most scientists are not virologists, right?
Of course, but the idea is that a lot of people lump them in because like there is, I think, an unfortunate decline of trust of institutions because of things like COVID. And so what people will do...
But this isn't institutions, right? Individual scientists as a whole are not institutions.
Look, when people think scientists, they think about scientists working in institutions. Like I think, like even when I hear that, I hear scientists, I think a representation of an institution. Like I've never met a scientist in my life. Maybe you here, but like an individual. I meet doctors, but doctors, they're in the front line. We communicate with them
Here.
versus a scientist, which is this amorphous thing that kind of like is behind some like brick walls in like MIT or something like that.
So this is a paper published in the Nature Human Behavior. It's a reasonable journal. The authors are here if you want to see them. Political Ideology and Trust in Scientists in the USA. That's the name of the paper. This is like from 2 years ago was when it was written, almost 3 years ago.
Yep.
Let's scroll down to the results section. Results. So, All these analyses were conducted in line with the registered report, which is good. First, we tested whether liberals trust scientists more than conservatives and whether the strength of the relationship varies across scientific occupations. To do so, blah, 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 blah. Mean levels of trust in scientists by political ideology are shown in figure 1. We can go look at that in a minute if you want. Although trust levels are relatively high overall, liberal participants tended to have higher trust in scientists, with extremely liberal participants indicating the highest levels. Why is it the case? Like, why does trust in science have anything to do with ideology?
I mean, there's some that are religious. Those who are right-leaning tend to be religious. They just
that's true.
Some of them believe in creationism, right? And some of them like into them, right? I mean, that's just. I mean, the right is the big tent, right? It's quite a big tent, and there are those who like I mean, they now represent,
perhaps debatable, but sure.
They represent like a huge part of male Latinas, right? Especially those from Mexico, right? Some of them are not uneducated. I mean, like, it could be for various reasons. And some of it is also the institutional culture, like I mentioned, and also what's happening with COVID. Like, it's multifactorial, but I think it's led by religion, in my honest opinion, but I don't know.
Yeah, so you're right. Conservatives are more likely to be religious, and being religious, at least, conservatives are more likely to be religious, and being religious is more correlated with deviating from scientific consensus.
Look, it's a big tent. I mean, there's a lot of people who believe and a lot of people who don't, right? There's a lot of like libertarians tend to be conservative, but they, don't share those liberal views. I mean, sorry, those Christian conservative views. And Christian conservatives actually like have a lot more like socialist type policies than say libertarian types. Like it's a big tent. Like, I mean, what can I say, right? And on top of that,
Well, I mean, we could talk about that, but
all right.
Look, I mean, like, what do you make of like
I think this is what look, like I do want like. And I apologize if I had like a hostile tone in my voice or anything like that. Like I don't. I actually really want to have a good faith conversation with you. And like, I have watched your content. I actually do enjoy it, right? Like my sister's also like a scientist herself, so I really respect.
I thought you said you hadn't talked to any scientists.
Yeah, but like, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Okay. What I mean by scientists, like just some stranger scientists. I wasn't thinking about my sister.
Okay, sure.
But like, you know what I mean? Like in the same way they talk to a doctor. What was I saying? What were we saying here? Oh yeah, where I'm like netting out here is the fact is that I think your argument of MAGA being anti-science is way too broad and way too of an accurate of a statement. And I get it's for clickbait, and I guess it's to spark conversation. But what I'm proposing to you is that a change in priority at this moment of time does not say very much, right? And especially if a lot of that money is shifting towards funding of space, funding of AI. They're national defense related, I agree, and it's probably at its root cause around national defense, but science at its end, like the reason why people a lot get into it is that so that it can produce something to advance either its people, either humanity, etc. And so I don't think that just because there's a shift of priority and budget, it means that it's a smoking gun of being anti-science in general.
It walks like an anti-science person. It talks like an anti-science person. Smells like an anti-science person. It might not be an anti-science person. Probably is, though. I mean, if your policymakers... All you did was
give me a list of opinions. Like, that didn't tell me anything.
A list of opinions?
Yeah, it was just a list of their opinions.
So if I were to tell you that across the board our scientific budgets are being cut, that just from the what's it called, the soapbox, Trump is attacking scientific research institutions. Trump is spreading scientific misinformation.
Are you talking about universities?
Yeah, and like also other institutions like the NSF, where he complained about like DEI stuff or something.
Okay, but all right, that's not related to science, is it?
I wasn't done.
Okay.
Spread scientific misinformation, has people in his cabinet who spread scientific misinformation. And then further, we have other MAGA-affiliated right-leaning conservatives who are promoting bills in their state senates and state congresses to try to remove chapters from textbooks, to try to introduce intelligent design to a school. And then further, we look at the voters who voted for MAGA, who distrust scientists, who want universities defunded, who don't believe that the scientific consensus is true overwhelmingly. I don't know. Just smells like an anti-scientist.
It sounds like you're actually conflating a mishmash of different motivations from different types of people in different sects of the conservative movement, and saying they're all like they're all one hive mind, therefore they're all anti-science. For example,
the outcome is anti-science. You understand that, right?
Well, no, I mean, no, not necessarily. Because the thing is that, like, for example, attacking institutions and educational institutions for DEI-related things for what they would see as a waste of money. To be clear,
Harvard, that's why he attacked the NSF.
Yeah,
the
but
reason why he attacked Harvard was for ideological reasons.
Yeah, I mean, for ideological reasons.
The ideology is anti-science.
No, because they're pushing things that are left-leaning. Like, I do know for
science.
No, it's not it. Like, for example,
why cut funding to cancer research then?
Well, it might be. Well, I actually have no idea. I don't know the line.
That's what was getting hurt by Donald Trump's cut in funding for Harvard.
Yeah, but like, what kind of research is this? Like, is
cancer
this kind of
research?
Well, what kind? What is
Ask
within
the
that
cancer researchers.
Well, I don't know.
It's research to figure out cancer better.
What I can tell you, and I can only tell you because I can only reference my sister in this, right? When she talks about research, is that some of this research is simply so that a lot of the motivation when you're actually going ahead and get a grant, and you probably know this, is to get a lot of bullshit papers that are out there, right? And you know there's probably more than one.
Okay, so you're right? So now you're doing the
anti-science. I don't know. Look, listen. Here's the thing. I'm not deep into the. I know there's also a political, when I say political, not left and right, but politicking that does happen within the scientific community, right? And there are all kinds of motivations going on. And it does sound like there's a lot of waste going on in that, because there's a lot of, we want to have these grants so we can fund this like bullshit paper. So this, person who's
by the way, what you're doing right now is currently anti-science. Like you're saying, oh, like we're just getting fans to fund bullshit papers.
I'm citing exactly what a scientist has told me. So that's not anti-science. I'm literally telling you exactly what she told me.
So you're taking an anecdotal account and using that to make claims about scientific institutions in
general.
You
don't think this is true? Right? You don't think that the politicking inside is happening? That basically people are like...
Politicking is not trying to find grants for bullshit papers. That's not what politicking is.
You don't think that ever happens?
I would bet you...
What school do you teach? I'm just curious.
I would bet you large amounts of money. I'm not going to tell you. I would bet you large amounts of money that you could not find...
Do you teach at Ivy League?
I would bet you large amounts of money that you could not find any, well, maybe you could find like retired professors who are who don't care about their job anymore.
There's definitely a lot of them.
Please, I'm in the middle of a sentence.
Okay, sorry.
So I would bet you large amounts of money that you couldn't find a single tenure track faculty who thinks that their work is bullshit.
Of course they didn't, because it's their own work.
So then why? So why would any of them say, "Oh yeah, we're just trying to get some bullshit papers"? Wait,
no one would admit it. No one would admit it. Someone who is not involved in that research that would make that observation.
Who decides which research is bullshit and which isn't?
I mean, that seems to be the talk of what they're talking about. Well, let's just say that me citing somebody who basically teaches at an Ivy League is somehow anti-science.
Should it be politicians that make this decision?
No, I don't think so.
So why are politicians making the decision about which research is bullshit?
I don't know. I think politicians should get feedback from those who actually are involved, for sure. I don't know if that's what they did.
So that's not what's happening. They're top-down instructions. I don't know if you heard about this, and we should probably call it a day soon because I have to go eat lunch soon.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you heard about this, and I could go find sources for it, but there was a big scandal in NSF funding. So the NSF provides a lot of grants to a lot of universities for research, they're a research granting organization, basically. And I think they cut half their funding grants for the hard sciences. I want to say in March, or maybe it was April, something like this. And there have been a whole lot of lawsuits since. But when that initially happened, essentially what was determined is that many of these grants were cut because they had words like diversity in them, or because they had words like, equity in them, or words like there was one particular example that was really egregious, but I can't remember what the word was. But this means that they, transgenic, that was one. And so there are words that are used in science sometimes, like diversity of a biological population of bacteria, and those those grants got defunded because, well, they had the word diversity in them. And that means it was coming from the top. This wasn't coming from scientists examining them and deciding that this was bullshit grant. That means it was coming from the top, right?
Okay. They were motivated by the fact that they don't want DEI in science.
Which means that it was the politicians making these decisions, and you agreed that they shouldn't be.
I don't think they should do that in a vacuum. I mean, I also said they should actually get counsel from the people who are involved.
Yeah, they should. They should.
Or maybe they made a mistake. It sounds like a huge miscalculation, but their motivation is clear. They don't want DEI involved in science.
Right. So they didn't actually care about removing bullshit research, right? That's not what they cared about.
No, it actually
they weren't
means
examining
it was
the
sloppy.
research.
No, it just means no. Their motivation was clear. It just means that they're sloppy. It just seems. I mean, it just seems to me that they were sloppy, but their motivation. They weren't
examining. They weren't checking for the quality of the research, right? They weren't checking for that.
They were sloppy. That's the thing. And I'm not saying that's right. I'm not excusing it, by the way.
They were sloppy in trying to cut out DEI. Their motivation was getting rid of DEI. Their motivation was not getting rid of bullshit research.
No, but the motivation isn't anti-science. The motivation is anti-DEI.
The motivation is not getting rid of bullshit research.
Okay, but the motivation isn't anti-science.
No, it just ends up being anti-science.
And they think that DEI is bullshit research. That's why they want to end it.
So to be clear, they weren't, like, the NSF wasn't funding like DEI research. What often happens, and you could ask your sister about this, when you write a grant application, there's usually like an impacts section. Like, how is your research going to impact broader society? And so often, depending on what your research is, you'll be like, oh, well, my research will allow me to go give public talks to kids to get them interested in math or get them interested in chemistry or whatever. You know, like that's the kind of thing that people put into their grant applications. And so sometimes, so what the Trump administration was trying to do is they were basically trying to search for those sections and say, oh, is this person going to use these research funds to do DEI things? They weren't like researching into DEI. They were using these funds to, you know, maybe promote diversity, equity, and inclusion in the scientific community. And that's like, maybe you think that that's bullshit, whatever, but they weren't examining the quality of the research. That's the point.
It's sloppy, but you know what? Let's just end it here. This is actually a good conversation. I'm sorry if I ended up sounding hostile, but I actually do enjoy this conversation. I know you gotta go, and I actually gotta go too. But I appreciate this conversation, Dr. Blitz.
Thank you, Tony.
All right, take care.
That was something. All right, let's read some super chats. All right, let's talk. So we have $5 from Michael F. Solis. Thank you, Michael. Next time Yosemite Sam does a mic drop, let him and move on. Let him and move on, Blitz. That was brutal to listen to. I'm sorry. Sometimes they leave people up too long. From Game Master Flash with the $10, when callers' kids grow up, they'll wish they had gotten the vaccines. Oh wait, they aren't going to make it, are they? W Blitz, thanks for living my worst nightmare. Most people will get lucky. Most people's kids are not going to get the measles, they're not going to get the mumps, they're not going to get rubella, they're not going to get polio. Most kids won't. But some kids will, and that sucks. $5 from Kamran Kermani. Thank you so much, Kamran. Doctor, this guest, Tony, is smart, but once was kicked by Justin a few months back due to nonsense. He believes in Shinto. Fascinating. That's fascinating. And from Wendigo, thank you so much for the 500 Karuna, my guy. I haven't seen anybody donate Czech crowns before. In fact, actually, don't go anywhere. I have some Czech Karuna. I still haven't got rid of it. But you will notice, is it on the back of this one? Oh, it's the Charles Bridge. Oh, the Charles Bridge is on the 50. Anyway. Well, thank you to the Czech Republic. From Eat Some Shorts with the $5. Thanks so much. Does guest agree racism and slavery is okay because the Southern tribe agreed with it? Yeah, that's the rough part. Look, you know, maybe their motivations for owning slaves was, maybe they just, you know, they were financially motivated. They didn't hate black people. They just, you know, they just wanted to have reap the financial benefits from having slaves. Doesn't mean they're racist. From Squinkstein with the $10. Thank you so much. Long game policies that have driven up the cost of higher ed were implemented precisely to produce a less educated citizenry that is more easily manipulated, and we're here now. Yeah, that's right. Donald Trump said something like, "What? I love the uneducated," or something like this. Or I love what did he say? I love the poorly educated. It's critical that it's poorly educated, not uneducated. Oh, I didn't read that. From Eat Some Shorts with the $5. Wondering how the guest can even talk with so much Elon in his mouth. Yeah, he seemed like a libertarian Elon, like libertarian tech Elon bro, which is kind of cringe. But you know, it is what it is. From Jack Fetter with the $5. He's very comfortable telling you how it works and where you're wrong. Until it's not convenient, then it's above his pay grade. Fair. From Eat Some Shorts again with the $5. Guest needs to work on those gag reflexes. They're choking on the Elon pill. Look, Elon's companies, some of Elon's companies have done some really cool things. But the thing is a lot of the funding that Elon Musk has gotten has been because of his lobbying efforts to get funding from the Republican Party. And that's just like, that's cronyism, right? From Reverend Nate with the 2 Canuck bucks, this caller would defend a Temu space program. Yeah, that's the rough part, right? From Dachshund Greenlight with the $2, Blitz, evidence doesn't matter to maggots. Let's not call them maggots. We can call them MAGA. Calling them names just drives them away. From Mindforged Manacle with the $5, it's not anti-science if it's politically motivated. Yeah, that was the whole argument, right? And that's typically the argument that gets offered when I do this live topic, which is why it can sometimes be less interesting and perhaps I need to like adjust to get a different line of attack. But like, they'll be like, oh no, it was just a change in priorities. Oh no, it's just like ideologically oriented. Yeah, ideologically oriented to be anti-science. From Ekipa with the €5, that CO2 satellite was also used to detect wildfires that take lives and cost millions in damage. It's not the only thing that it's used for, actually. It's not just CO2 monitoring, or CO2 monitoring is also used to plan crops, like plan planting seasons and plan, when you do your planting and when you harvest and things like this, because the CO2 in the atmosphere changes pretty dramatically from place to place and season to season. And so you can use that information to produce better, to do better agricultural science. From Jack Fetter with the $5, first, he's evenly trimming waste, then he's just consolidating, then the reporting agency should be questioned, dude be in denial. There's a lot of excuses for why this is why this behavior is not anti-science. But at the end of the day, the end result is science is being sidelined. And, you know, like, look, I'll just tell you a personal story. So I lived in the Czech Republic until May, right? I was working at a university in the Czech Republic. You know, I had a temporary contract, and my contract ended in May. And I was offered a job in New Zealand in November, right? Or in September. But my wife really wanted to move back to the United States. So I was only applying to places in the United States, and I turned down the job in New Zealand. And we were pretty confident that, you know, no way could they vote for Donald Trump again, right? And then Donald Trump won. And my wife asked me, hey, is that job in New Zealand still out? And I asked the guy, unfortunately it's not, the guy who offered it. But I would have loved to have been there because New Zealand is a safe place to be a scientist, right? Europe is a safe place to be a scientist right now. China, even, is a safe place to be a scientist, depending on what science you're doing. The United States is not a great place to be a scientist right now. It's just not. Grants are up in the air. Funding cuts are really confused, or like funding is really confused. There was a job I applied for, and I had a pretty good shot of getting it. And I never heard back from him, so I emailed somebody. And I'm like, hey, am I still in consideration for this job? And they said, we don't even know if we're going to be able to hire this. The budget might not work. And that's like across the board. There were universities that couldn't hire a year's worth of grad students because they just didn't have the funding for it. It's just not a great place to be a scientist if you're in the US these days. Anyway, from Saint Diluted with the $5, ask caller about Trump's comment about it will cool down, the scientists just don't know it yet. Oh yeah, that's a good point. I'll add that to my list. It will cool down, the scientists just don't know it yet. I'll add that because that's a very famous quote. If I remember hearing about this anyway. Yeah, okay. Here's from AP News. Yeah, I'll just add this to my list of to be sorted. Yeah, it's rough though. That's the kind of thing that happened. You should look up the exact quote. Yeah, I'm looking for it. Yeah, so Trump was having a conversation with he was in Northern California to be briefed by Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom. At one point, State Natural Resources Agency Secretary Wade Crowfoot urged the president to recognize the changing climate and what it means to our forests. Trump responded, "It will start getting cooler, just you watch." Crowfoot politely pushed back that he wished the science agreed with the president. Trump countered, "I don't think science knows, actually." Oof. From Reverend Nate with the 5 Canuck bucks, the Apollo program put $6 back into GDP for every $1 spent. These cuts are anti-science and damaging to the American economy and relevance. That's exactly it. I mean, like, the other thing is that when we pay NASA, that money goes back to, you know, your everyday citizens, right? When we pay SpaceX, does it? Or does it just go into the pockets of shareholders? There aren't even shareholders, right? From Mindforge Manacle with the $5, Trump's anti-science priorities are his priorities. Therefore, he's not anti-science. Brilliant color. I mean, yeah, there you go. From Jack Fetter with the $5, a big tent doesn't typically mean a huge tent jammed full of, like, single-minded troglodytes, just saying. Look, you said it, not me. From Kieran Dave with the $5, how can this caller claim to be libertarian-leaning and also support directing tax dollars into institutions developing AI? Very inconsistent. Yeah, that's an interesting take. From Reverend Nate with the 5 Canuck bucks, science-denying Christian forgot his sister existed when he listed scientists. At least he sticks on brand. And from Sean with the $5, Tony never met a scientist, and also his sister is a scientist, and also a different scientist told him that their research is garbage. Yeah, look, I don't think that he was being dishonest. I think he just doesn't think of his sister as a scientist. Who knows? Apparently she teaches at a liberal or at a Ivy League school. Who knows what that means? It could be that she's an adjunct, which, you know, adjuncts are super taken advantage of. It could be that she's like a full professor. He seems a little young to have a sister who's a full professor, but, you know, possible. Anyway, y'all, let me just double check, make sure I'm not missing any cash apps or things along those lines. We have $10 from Shay, whose last name I will not mention, on Cash App. Well, that was a lot. Thank you so much, Shay. It was a lot, I agree. It looks like that's it. I don't see anything else on my email. So guys, thank you so much for being here. I will see you guys on Sunday for some more Unapologetic. I'm also going to be on Jovan Bradley's show this afternoon, so make sure to stick around for that. And, well, it'll be on YouTube, so make sure to go watch that anyway. I'll send an announcement when it goes live and stuff. And I'll see you guys then. Take care, everybody.